93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
Record rainfall. It's 46 in the Circle City. More fog this morning with some clouds. Greater rain chances returning this afternoon, too. Today's high around 57. I'm Jarrett Lewis. Here's what's trending at 9:02. Some serious rainfall throughout central Indiana last night. More showers this morning, too. Forecaster Joe Neild from the National Weather Service in Indianapolis.
When you think of picking up a single gallon jug of water and how heavy that is, and then imagine the force of, several hundred of those being exerted on your vehicle.
Neild also said the city set a daily record of 2.59 inches of rainfall on Tuesday. There is a flood watch in effect until next hour. Watch out for roads that remain flooded. Former Indianapolis Mayor Greg Ballard is launching a bid to be Indiana's Secretary of State and not as a Republican.
Today, things are different. Both political parties are broken, and we're the ones paying the price.
That's Ballard in a video posted to social media this morning. He was a Republican when he was mayor from 2008 to 2015. He said he's running for Secretary of State as an independent because the office requires a nonpartisan person. The other candidates are Democrat Bo Bai and Republican and current Secretary of State Diego Morales. Brownsburg Schools is settling a lawsuit this week with a former music teacher who resigned after refusing to call students who said they were transgender by their preferred names and pronouns. Court records show the school corporation has agreed to pay John Klug $650,000. The Alliance Defending Freedom was the group representing Klug in court. This case had been ongoing for 7 years. A massive increase in gas prices overnight. The average price here in Indiana is up about 14 cents compared to Tuesday. Today it's at $3.14 a gallon. The national average rising to $3.20. The Indianapolis Colts are placing what's called the transition tag on quarterback Daniel Jones. John Herrick explains what that is.
Jones is still free to negotiate with other teams, but if he signs with another team, this tag allows the Colts to have 5 days to match the offer to keep him. If he has not signed an offer sheet with another team by July 22nd, he can only negotiate a contract with the Colts. Jones had the best completion percentage of his career last season until he got hurt, and the Colts missed the playoffs. John Herrick, 93. WIBC Mobile News.
And the Indiana Pacers beginning a West Coast road trip tonight against the Clippers. Head coach Rick Carlisle.
Well, these are all tough games. I mean, you're a long way from home. The Clippers are on a real tear. Leonard's playing great. And they got a lot of other weapons. So
Carlisle hoping to evaluate some talent that he'll want to use more of for next season. Tonight's tip-off is at 10:30 Eastern Time. Here's a look at the roads this morning, again with Matt Bear.
All right, Jared, northbound 65 on the south side, slow from Raymond Street into the south split. That is a construction zone. The stall cleared on southbound 65-70 at Fletcher. Northeast side northbound 465 slow before East 56th Street up to I-69. Traffic sponsored by the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation. The Crohn's and Colitis Foundation has been at the forefront of inflammatory bowel disease research and care for over 50 years. Learn more about research, education, and support at Crohn'sColitisFoundation.org. I'm Matt Bear with traffic on the 5s. Follow us at WIBC Traffic.
Groceries, gas, just about everything you can buy comes with a tax on it. No matter what, the government's always there to take their cut of your cash. Your money belongs to you. That's why Congressman Jim Baird joined with President Donald Trump to pass historic legislation to ensure you keep more of your hard-earned cash. According to the White House, Congressman Baird's vote means Americans will receive a tax cut, saving over $10,000 every year. They'll get no taxes on tips for workers, and families will receive permanent increases to child tax credits and expanded child care access. That means bigger paychecks, a stronger economy, and more prosperity across our nation. To learn more about how President Trump and Congressman Jim Baird are saving American families money and putting money in your wallet, call Congressman Baird's office at 317-563-5567 or visit baird.house.gov.
Paid for by official funds authorized by the House of Representatives.
The forecast from the American Standard Heating Weather Center.
Morning showers, a few rumbles of thunder, otherwise mostly cloudy. Today's high 57. Showers and storms tonight. A few of the storms could be strong to severe, a low of 56. I'm Wish TV Storm Track 8 meteorologist Marcus Bailey, 93 WIBC.
And I'm Jarrett Lewis, on the level, on the go, and on WIBC.com.
Somebody asked me a question and said, did we go in because of Israel? And I said, you were asking me that follow-up. And I said, no. I told you this had to happen anyway. We knew that there was going to be an Israeli action. We knew that that would precipitate an attack against American forces. And we knew that if we didn't preemptively go after them before they launched those attacks, we would suffer higher casualties.
So this from the Washington Post, the White House offering shifting rationales for war with Iran. Good morning. My name is Casey. That is the dude, Jim. Clarity does matter in moments like this. When the message isn't consistent, it does make people wonder. It drives reporters absolutely crazy. Was this a carefully planned decision, or is everyone scrambling to shape the story after the fact? The commander-in-chief, Donald Trump, he does weigh in, and we are going to get to that. Also, coming up at 11, former FBI Special Agent Corey Grass is going to be joining us. He's an expert in counterterrorism and counterintelligence, and we're going to get his take on everything, plus some personal safety tips, a little bit about Corey Grass.
I was a Indiana University police officer for 4 years while I was a student, part-time police officer, full-time student. For the 6 years after that, I was a full-time police officer with the city of Bloomington, Indiana. When I got hired by the FBI in 2002, my first duty station was Miami, Florida, and I was assigned to a violent crimes task force. I was also on the SWAT Tactical Operations Center, and I was assigned to the Miami-Dade Police Department's Safe Streets Task Force, where I was loaned out with 11 other agents to work violent crimes. I transferred back to Indiana in 2007. And I was switched over to counterterrorism, and they detailed me out or loaned me to the Bureau of Prisons in Terre Haute, Indiana, where my desk was inside the prison. I worked on a project where they monitor 100% of the communications of 50 convicted terrorists. And I did that for 7 years and became a hostage negotiator when I was back then in 2007. I eventually made it back to Bloomington, Indiana, and I worked counterintelligence, where I chased spies in the United States, and I helped CIA launch spies overseas for 4 more years. And then my last 4 years in the FBI before I retired, I recruited human sources all the way from Morgan County down to the Ohio River. I recruited sources for drug dealing, prostitution, murders, public corruption, counterterrorism, counterintelligence, and any other topic that somebody would share with me that I could share that information back with Washington, D.C. to be sent around the country or overseas.
So that is former FBI Special Agent Corey Grass. And again, he's going to join us coming up at 11 o'clock. And that will be a 2-part conversation. Fantastic. Definitely stick around for that. Also, burger wars heating up online. Burger King CEO takes a big bite out of a Whopper in a new video. This after the McDonald's CEO went viral for reluctantly nibbling on his big arch burger. I'm just kind of waiting for Taco Bell CEO to show up drunk.
I love this product. It is so good. I'm going to do a tasting right now, but I'm going to eat this for my lunch, just so you know. So here we go. First, holy cow. God, that is a big burger.
And finally, also on the way, Justin doesn't want you to see him drunk. Justin Timberlake suing to block the release of body cam footage from his drunk driving arrest in the New York Hamptons back in 2024. You remember that. He couldn't stop. He couldn't stop it, and then he got behind the wheel. And he does not want you to see it. Let's return back to what's going on. The big political discussion about why it's happening. At the first public event since the attack, Donald Trump on Monday, he didn't mention the rationale for the war. Instead, he emphasized that Iran would soon have missiles that could hit targets inside the United States. And it seems like there's been a little confusion over the rationale, regime change or nuclear weapons. Well, we're in it now. So strong leadership, it doesn't just mean taking tough calls, making tough calls. It means you have to be clear and you got to be unified about why you made them. If the stories don't line up, critics, especially journalists, they're going to assume either there was some internal disagreement or that the public isn't getting the full picture. And in the case of national security, mixed messaging can create doubt at home and weakness abroad. So you've got order, strength, and clear chains of command. And if the messaging isn't tight, it undercuts the image of decisive leadership. And when it comes to military action, perception matters too. We say this all the time. We always talk about it in terms of marketing. The 3 C's: clear, concise, consistent. Clear, concise, consistent, over and over and over again. When it comes to political matters, it's not marketing, but it is the message.
Yeah, and Trump's messaging has been discombobulated, to use a term that we heard during the Venezuelan taking of Maduro with the discombobulator. It's just kind of been all over the place, and it's unfortunate. And there's actually a report out this morning that's talking about Trump's approval ratings are at an all-time low. And I think this goes back to Trump is doing so much so fast. Hey, by the way, Casey, if you didn't know this morning, the U.S. military, in cooperation with the country of Ecuador, took action against some terrorist organizations in the country of Ecuador this morning.
Rapid response.
I think that's kind of where people are feeling right now, is that there's just so much going on that it's difficult for the average American, the average Hoosier, to kind of wrap their head around everything. And then on top of that, when you've got this messaging that's coming from the Trump administration that isn't clear and it's not consistent and we're not quite sure about this, I think that's why you're leading to people just feel a heightened sense of uncertainty. And that certainly is jarring to people. It makes them feel uneasy. It's got to be a big reason why Trump is seeing, approval ratings at an all-time low for him. However, I'll say, after all of that, I don't know that Trump's all that concerned about it.
Yeah.
I think that he went into this second term as president saying, you know what? I listened to the wrong people on my first term. That was a problem. I've got a shot in the second term. He knows that he's not running for a third term, even though he'll joke about it. He says, and so the way I view Trump in this is, I'm going to do what I think is right for this country. And if people like it, that's awesome. And if they don't, who cares?
So the core political controversy right now is whether the action was genuinely defensive and necessary, and it was done to avoid greater casualties later, or did it represent a dangerous escalation and broad intervention that wasn't forced by clear, unavoidable threats? So do you wait until something bad happens and then react, or do you act in a way that reshapes consequences before they strike? Now, if Rubio is saying the U.S. hit Iran because Tehran's actions made retaliation against U.S. forces almost certain, then that is ownership of consequences instead of avoidance. As I said yesterday, regardless, the Trump administration is going to have to own this one way or the other. And according to the Secretary of War this morning, Pete Hegseth, he said they're done. They have no forces. Their Navy is in the bottom of the ocean. Winning changes everything. But again, it kind of goes back to, you're a mom, you're a dad. Mom and dad need to be on the same page, a united front to the children. And we, as the American people, are the children.
And I think a part of this is, what's the messaging that they can give from a political standpoint on the international stage and to the American people? They can't have a nuclear bomb. They can't have ballistic missiles. They're, terrorizing their neighbors, when in reality, Donald Trump probably looked at this. And again, talking back to what I said a minute ago, where he's just going to do what he thinks is right for this country and doesn't care what anybody else thinks. Donald Trump probably looked at this and said, what are we doing here? It's been 50 years when this started in 1979. By the way, it started when they took over 55 American citizens from our embassy in Tehran hostage for 444 days. Then in 1983, arms of Iran blew up a military base in Beirut, killing over 200 American Marines. They've been the biggest sponsor of terrorism in the world for decades. They've been bothering their neighbors. Their arms of Hezbollah and Hamas invaded Israel a couple of years ago, killing over 1,000 of their citizens. My guess is Donald Trump just looked at the world stage and said, we're not taking this anymore. And I'm going to go in there and I'm going to fix it right now because it's too much. Now, can he say that publicly? I guess he could, but he's probably trying to soften it a little bit and talk about how this is about nuclear weapons and this is about ballistic missiles.
Yeah. So here he is. He's saying that Israel did not force America's hand and that we forced theirs.
Mr. President, did Israel force your hand to launch these strikes against Iran? Did Netanyahu pull the United States into this war?
No, I might have forced their hand. You see, we were having negotiations with these lunatics, and it was my opinion that they were going to attack first. They were going to attack. If we didn't do it, they were going to attack first. I felt strongly about that. And we have great negotiators, great people that do this very successfully and have done it all their lives very successful. And based on the way the negotiation was going, I think they were going to attack first. And I didn't want that to happen. So if anything, I might have forced Israel's hand. but Israel was ready and we were ready, and we've had a very, very powerful impact.
And that contradicts what the Speaker of the House said. Mike Johnson said it was a defensive move. He said this was a defensive measure. If Israel fired upon Iran and took action against Iran to take out the missiles, then Iran would have immediately retaliated against U.S. personal assets. Well, Marco Rubio got mad. He had had enough, and then he decided to put the fake news right in their place after they refused to listen to him.
Listen, let me explain to you guys this in simple English. Okay? Iran is run by lunatics, religious fanatic lunatics. They have an ambition to have nuclear weapons. They intend to develop those nuclear weapons behind a program of missiles and drones and terrorism that the world will not be able to touch them for fear of those things. And this is the weakest they've ever been. Now is the time to go after them. The president made the decision to go after them, take away their missiles, take away their navy, take away their drones, take away their ability to make those things so that they can never have a nuclear weapon. That's why the president made this decision. It was the right decision. And the world will be a safer place when these radical clerics no longer have access to these weapons. You see how they're using them now. Imagine how they would use them a year from now if they had more of these.
I like it when Marco Rubio gets fired up.
Yeah, well, and I mean, they need to really push Marco Rubio to the forefront of their media and messaging campaign on this.
He's all out.
But I mean, you still get Trump talking, and Trump's always going to be all over the place. You still get Pete Hegseth and the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Raisin Kane. He's going to do his talking, and that's going to make news and headlines, and we'll have audio clips from that. And I think that's where the problem in the messaging is. Doesn't seem like there's any problem with messaging whenever Marco Rubio opens his mouth.
Yeah, he's pretty direct. Marco Rubio and CENTCOM, that's what we need, right? So how is this affecting gas prices here in Indiana? And also, hey, somebody else has entered the Secretary of State race here in Indiana.
Oh, boy.
That's coming up. You're listening to 93 WIBC.
Hammer and Nigel.
3,364 children found by ICE. Don't forget, lost under Biden and cartels enabled with his open border policies. The wine moms meetings in Westfield, they're not going to talk about this. 3,364. If my tax dollars are going to be spent, I'm fine with that.
Hammer and Nigel, weekdays 3 till 7 on 93 WIBC and WIBC.com.
Roll the windows down, turn the music up, and cruise into spring with auto loan rates as low as 3.99% APR for 48 months at Financial Center. Whether you're buying or refinancing, you'll save every month. Plus, you'll enjoy no payments for your first 90 days. Start now at fcfcu.com/auto. That's fcfcu.com/auto. Financial Center, your credit union for what's next. Subject to underwriting guidelines. See website for terms and conditions.
You know when you order a medium coffee and they hand you a large for the same price? Well, that's what the heroes at Zero Res are doing this month. Get a free size upgrade on every whole home air duct cleaning package. You pay for standard, you get the next size up. More vents, more returns, more fresh air. After winter in Indiana, your ducts need it and your home needs it the most. Call 317-388-5141. ZeroResIndy.com and ask for the WIBC special.
Texting enrolls you in a recurring automated marketing text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
The team's looking good this season. I think so. Man, I miss playing football. Ever since I turned 40, I just can't find that fire I used to have.
Think it could be lower testosterone?
What do you mean?
I was feeling the same way. After 40, the body has less testosterone, and men lose their edge. That's why I take Nugenix Total T2.
That's the testosterone booster, right?
Yes, but Total T2 is their brand new formula that skyrockets nitric oxide levels in as little as 3 hours. Since I started taking it, I've been lifting like when we played for Coach Carter. My energy is way up, and it even spiced up things between me and the missus.
Are they still giving out complimentary bottles?
Yep, just send a text.
Text RULE to 215215 for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T2, the next generation testosterone booster. Text now and we'll include a bottle of Nugenix Thermo X, our newest, most powerful fat burner ever, absolutely free. Text RULE to 215215. That's RULE to 215215.
These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Were you born from 1945 to 1965? People born during these years are 5 times more likely to have hepatitis C. So even if you try to eat right, exercise, and take care of yourself, you could still have hepatitis C, a serious disease that's a leading cause of liver cancer. If you were born from 1945 to 65, you should get a blood test for hepatitis C. Treatments can cure this disease. Talk to your doctor about getting tested. A message from the CDC.
Upgrade your flooring with Drexel Interiors. Shop pet-friendly carpet and luxury vinyl plank on sale now. Plus, get 12 months interest-free financing. Visit their Indianapolis or Carmel showrooms or drexelin.com.
Gas prices. Whoop, they went up. The average gas price jumped 11 cents overnight, roughly $3.11 per gallon. Of course, the spike happened because of the escalating conflict in the Middle East. At least that's what we're told. And why is this a surprise to anybody?
Oh, it shouldn't be a surprise to anybody. Yeah. No, when we go to war with an oil-rich country in the most oil-rich region of the entire world, and Iran talks about shutting down the Strait of Hormuz, where 25% of the entire oil in the world passes through on a regular basis. Yes, we knew this was coming. I'm actually surprised it took until yesterday. I'm surprised we didn't see the gas prices spike on Monday.
Yeah. So that's probably going to continue. It's getting noticeably more expensive. And even though the U.S. produces a lot of oil, we still feel global supply issues. And this is exactly where energy dependence matters, right? We need to stop relying on other countries. We don't as much as we used to.
Yeah.
Drill, baby, drill.
Yeah. So just to kind of give you a sense here of where gas
global
prices...
markets, they're still going to affect our prices.
Absolutely. But just to kind of give you a sense of where gas prices have gone, and this is according to AAA. So a year ago, gas was $2.85. A month ago, gas was $2.87. A week ago, gas was $2.82. It was nice and stable. We all knew about what the price of gas was, and then it jumps 11 cents in one day. So, yeah, that's obviously a bit of a shock. It's going to be tough for the American people to manage that. It would be incredible if maybe the state of Indiana, maybe Mike Braun wants to call a special session so that he can give some gas tax relief to Hoosiers, since we have one of the highest gas taxes in the entire nation. Don't put any money on that. I'm going to bet that that's not going to happen. It's just going to be something that we're going to have to deal with. And I think this is certainly where the Trump administration needs to have a little bit of a different conversation. We spent a lot of the first break talking about Trump administration's messaging, and right now a lot of it is very much about how incredible our military is, and that's true, and how an amazing job that they're doing and performing in the theater in Iran, and all of that's true. But at some point in time, somebody's going to have to say, hey, look, we get that there's a lot going on. We talked about how the U.S. and Ecuador just did a raid against some terrorist organizations in Ecuador. People's heads are spinning right now, and now we've got the thing. So our heads are already spinning, and now gas prices jumped 11 cents in one day. That's going to hit the way people spend their money immediately. Somebody from the Trump administration at some point in time, I think, is probably going to have to show a little bit of empathy or sit down and say, look, I know this is tough. I know this is difficult, and we're going to get through it, but there's going to be some pain here for a period of time.
So it's being reported that gas prices were already creeping up because of refineries. They're switching to the more expensive summer fuel blends, and that's why we have to keep our production strong here and don't let any overseas geopolitics keep driving up our costs at the pump. Hoosiers deserve better than any sort of temporary price swings tied to foreign turmoil. However, as you mentioned, Jim, I would take a temporary price relief if the governor of Indiana wanted to make that happen. Governor Mike Braun, if you and you alone wanted to make that happen, boy, imagine how his numbers would escalate.
Yeah, I think it would probably take a special session. I'm not sure about that, but because the gas tax is written into law, I would think that it would take another law to amend that, and so it would be really...
Isn't that what they do?
Really tough for Mike Braun to do
laws,
that.
Amend laws?
Hey, we did a special session so that we could potentially redistrict. That didn't work out, but when it comes to maybe doing a special session to give you a little bit of relief at the gas pump because of everything that's going on geopolitically now, I don't think that there's any chance that that's going to happen. But Mike Braun should probably have this conversation too. That just everybody's heads are swimming with everything that's going on right now, and we're all trying to grasp it, and we're all trying to keep up on the latest. And gas prices going up 11 cents in 24 hours is staggering. And so at some point in time, somebody needs to have that conversation with the American people and with Hoosiers that say, look, we understand. We get it. This is going to be tough, but it's not going to last forever.
Well, here is Donald Trump kind of giving that same message. He admitting that oil prices are elevating, but it should be temporary.
If we have a little high oil prices for a little while, But as soon as this ends, those prices are going to drop, I believe, lower than even before.
One thing he did announce is that effective immediately, the U.S. Navy is going to be escorting tankers through the Strait of Hormuz as Iran threatens to close it. He said that no matter what, the United States will ensure the free flow of energy to the world. The United States' economic and military might is the greatest on earth. More actions to come. What more actions could he be taking? They said they had it under control. Yesterday, they said we were expecting this, and now we have efforts to make sure that everything is fine.
Well, look, this is, it's called the fog of war for a reason. There are going to be things that happen that you didn't anticipate. Like, for example, just this morning, it came out that NATO forces shot down a missile that was headed toward Turkey. That's new. Iran has been attacking all its neighbors, and we've been talking about Kuwait and Saudi Arabia and Bahrain and those countries right there. Turkey has not been one we've mentioned yet. So, again, things are going to happen that we don't expect to happen, and you've got to be prepared to be able to manage that on the fly.
How is this America first, though? I'll just put that out there. It's one of those days I vacillate every day to, I think Trump is doing a fantastic job. He's a great leader, and he's a man for the moment, too. What is he doing? Every single day I go back and forth with that question. And when you think about, winning the war, the epic fury, it's going great. Oh, no, it's not going great. We have dead servicemen, and our gas prices are going higher. Back and forth. It's a ping pong thing with Donald Trump. Are you feeling that? Okay, so somebody has entered the Indiana Secretary of State race, and we'll get to that coming up. It is 93 WIBC.
Were you born from 1945 to 1965? People born during these years are 5 times more likely to have hepatitis C, but most people don't know they are infected. So even if you try to eat right, exercise, and take care of yourself, you can still have hepatitis C, a serious liver disease that often has no symptoms. In fact, people can live with hepatitis C for decades without feeling or looking sick. But over time, hepatitis C can cause serious health problems, including liver damage, liver failure, or even liver cancer. Getting tested is the only way to know if you're infected with hepatitis C. That's why the CDC recommends everyone born from 1945 to 1965 get a blood test for hepatitis C. Treatments are available that can cure this disease. So talk to your doctor about getting tested. It could save your life. A message from the CDC.
It's hard to keep track of all the health information that comes your way, but you still want to make the right decisions. Here's an easy one. Get tested for hepatitis C. It's a leading cause of liver cancer and often has no symptoms. People born from 1945 to 1965 are 5 times more likely to have hepatitis C. The good news is that now it can be cured. Talk with your doctor about getting a blood test for hepatitis C. Know for sure. A message from the CDC.
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
Mourning the loss of service members. I'm Jarrett Lewis. Here's what's trending at 9:30. At least 6 of them have been killed since the U.S. and Israel attacked Iran over the weekend. Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Dan Kane.
I remain humbled, grateful, inspired by every day the valor and professionalism of our joint force.
Meanwhile, the U.S. and Israel continue to strike Iran and have reportedly killed hundreds of people there and dozens in Lebanon. A new Fox poll finds support for the war is split 50-50. Texas Congressman Dan Crenshaw losing his primary to a Republican challenger.
Texas State Representative Steve Toth has defeated GOP Congressman Dan Crenshaw in the 2nd Congressional District primary. Toth, a member of the GOP's hard-right caucus in the legislature, was endorsed by Republican Senator Ted Cruz. Crenshaw had clashed with Cruz over the senator's support of President Trump's unfounded claim that he won the 2020 presidential election. He was running for a 5th term and was the only House Republican in Texas seeking re-election without Trump's endorsement.
Fox's Tanya J. Powers reporting, and Minnesota's Governor Tim Walz and Attorney General Keith Ellison appearing before the House Oversight Committee today to answer questions about alleged fraud in the state. Federal prosecutors have charged multiple people with stealing from multiple state-run programs. Committee Chair James Comer claims both Walz and Ellison knew about the fraud allegations far earlier than previously thought.
While Governor Walz hesitated, taxpayers lost billions. Attorney General Ellison has likewise claimed his office was aggressively holding fraudsters accountable. But when his statements were tested against the record, they fell apart.
The committee's report also accused state leadership of ignoring evidence of fraud in a bid to appease the Somali community in Minneapolis. Your opening bell report on 93 WIBC brought to you by Absolute Wealth Management. Stocks opening up higher today. The Dow's up 173 points, 48,501. The S&P 500 also in the green. It's up 28 points to 6,816. And the NASDAQ rising 144 points now to 24,720. I'm Jarrett Lewis on The Level, on the go, and on WIBC.com.
It's time. You've been putting off that kitchen or bath remodel long enough. What are you waiting for? Get started today with Boer Remodeling. Boer Remodeling customer Kathy had a bath remodel with Boer. Kathy, talk a little bit about your experience.
Our experience with Boer has been terrific. The process was so easy and seamless. When we decided to do a larger remodel of our first floor, Boer was the first company we thought of hiring.
And were you happy with the results?
The results are amazing, and we are so happy with our home and the work that Boer did.
Peter is another recent Boer Remodeling customer with a new kitchen. Peter, what was the best part about working with Boer?
We especially liked the active participation that we were able to have in selection of stone for the countertops. Really came out beautiful. The cabinets also came out very, very well.
The best materials, the most skilled craftsmen in Central Indiana. They'll guide you through the entire process. Start with a free consultation. Talk to Boer Remodeling today. That's BOOHER, BoerRemodeling.com.
Spring is fast approaching and a great time for a new Lincoln at Tom Roush Lincoln in Fishers. 0% financing is back. That's right, 0% for 48 months on new Corsair, Nautilus, and Aviator. Plus 0% for 36 months on new Navigator. With these rates, it's absolutely the best time to buy. Be sure to check them all out at Tom Roush Lincoln in Fishers. Our family serving yours since 1972.
0% APR for 48 months on 2026 Lincoln Corsair, Nautilus, and Aviator. 0% APR for 36 months on 2025 Lincoln Navigator. Subject to credit approval. Offers end 3/31/26. See dealer for complete offer details.
Want to start testosterone therapy? Go to Low T Center, the area's #1 TRT clinic for effective custom testosterone covered by insurance.
This month, get a free T-test. Visit lowtcenter.com and book right now.
The Indy 1500 Gun and Knife Show is this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at the Indiana State Fairgrounds. For hunting, sporting, and personal protection gear, visit the Indy 1500 Gun and Knife Show.
Save hundreds of dollars with free delivery plus low price guarantees on quality brand name furniture and mattresses.
Only at Thompson Furniture and Mattress in Columbus.
As student athletes, we want to shine a light on the true team players of every high school sports team. Our parents.
Thank you for driving us to practice and cleaning our uniforms.
For selling concessions and hosting team dinners.
For making signs and painting your faces.
For cheering for our team, rain or shine, snow or heat, at home or on the road.
For the time, money, and energy you spent supporting us all season long.
Thank you for always being there for us.
And for everything you do to help us grow through high school sports.
You make it possible for us to play the sports we love, and we will always be grateful.
Mom, Dad, we just want to say
thank you.
I'm IHSA Commissioner Paul Neidig. Thank you to all the family members, friends, and fans who champion our student athletes by buying tickets to your high school's athletic events. This is showing our gratitude. This is supporting education-based athletics. This is your IHSAA.
Wesley is a truck driver.
I drive a truck, and I love what I do.
A truck driver with IRS troubles.
They told me I owed them $43,000.
It got really bad.
Quite a few letters in the mail. They were talking about wage garnishment, coming after my house, my car. Yeah, they don't play around. I seriously thought that I was going to lose everything.
One sleepless night, Wesley finally made a call to Optima Tax Relief at 2 a.m.
Kind of figured I'd get a machine, but I didn't. I actually got to talk to an actual person in the middle of the night.
He found just what he was looking for.
Oh, they were great people. You need a team of people that know what they're doing. Optima Tax, they know what they're doing.
Optima Tax Relief came through with flying colors.
I saved an incredible amount of money. Happy don't even come close. I was absolutely overjoyed.
Take Wesley's advice.
If you're in any kind of trouble with the IRS, call Optima Tax Relief. Don't trust anybody else.
Call Optima for a free consultation. Call 800-598-4799. 800-598-4799. 800-598-4799.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
A high-profile person is now running as an independent in the Indiana Secretary of State race, and that just shows how many Hoosiers are tired of party fighting. But let's be real. Splitting the vote could really just hand an advantage to one other candidate. So you have Greg Ballard, former two-term Indianapolis mayor, retired U.S. Marine. He announced that he's running for Indiana Secretary of State as an independent.
I ran as a Republican, but I govern for everyone. Today, things are different. Both political parties are broken, and we're the ones paying the price. When politics becomes this toxic, it's essential to have an independent voice overseeing our elections. In Indiana, that's the job of our Secretary of State, but the current leadership in that office has shown an eagerness to engage in partisan politics. I thought my career in public service had ended, but when you see something this broken and know you can fix it, you step forward.
Wow, that's
why
a dig
today,
at Diego Morales.
Yeah, you
the
think?
current Secretary of
Right,
State.
exactly.
So Greg Ballard, he made this announcement in the campaign launch and positioned himself as the nonpartisan professional choice focused on fair election administration. He's got to collect 37,000 petition signatures by July to qualify for the November ballot. So now he's positioning himself against the Republican current Secretary of State, Diego Morales, and the Democrat, Bo Bai, who's running in this election if he qualifies.
This was telegraphed a couple of days ago when this fairly recent group called Independent Indiana, and this was formed in the last couple of years, and this is a political action group that is trying to get independent candidates on the ballot in Indiana. And all of a sudden, they put out some polling results on Monday that caught a lot of people's attention that showed that Bo Bai was at 31% and Diego Morales was at 28%, and Greg Ballard as an independent at 23%. Now, keep in mind, this was 2 days ago before Greg Ballard had announced this, and so obviously this had been telegraphed, and so it's no surprise that Greg Ballard came out this morning with this. And look, Greg Ballard, very successful mayor of Indianapolis from 2008 to 2016. I mean, that could be called, probably the best days that we saw in Indianapolis.
The golden age.
The golden years for the city of Indianapolis when Greg Ballard was the mayor. And absolutely, he is a former Republican, now running as an independent. You're going to expect that if Diego Morales wins the Republican primary, so let's go under that assumption, and now you've got this three-person race, the Republicans are going to split their votes between Diego Morales and Greg Ballard, and this just was a massive boost to Bo Bai.
Yeah, except it also maybe Diego Morales isn't going to get all those delegate votes.
Entirely possible, but look, he has the support of...
You've got Dave Shelton in there as well.
But Diego Morales has the support of the Republican establishment. Despite the fact that he's had so many problems since he's been Secretary of State, the Republican establishment, the donor base, still looks like they are supporting Diego Morales. So I think that he's certainly going to be the nominee. He's certainly going to get a lot of votes because he's got that institutional support behind him. Greg Ballard coming in is a total wild card in this. And look, I know that a lot of people are going to probably be upset at Greg Ballard. I've already seen it on social media. Oh, well, you just handed Bo Bai the Secretary of State's office. Nice job, guy. I look at it from what do you mean? Am I supposed to be terrified that Bo Bai might be Secretary of State? Really? Do you mean that he could be worse than Diego Morales? Is that what we're sitting here fighting for? Stomping our feet and saying, no, we can't have this. I've got to have Diego Morales as my Secretary of State. There's not a whole lot of people out there like that. I think that the concept that, oh, no, this is terrible because now we're going to have a Democrat in there, that just stems from old school party politics. Look, Diego Morales has not been doing a good job. I have no idea if Bo Bai is going to do a good job or not, but the concept of this is that somebody is going to win the Secretary of State's race. At this point, if we were to believe these polls, it's not going to be Diego Morales. You're going to have a hard time selling me that Bo Bai is going to be so much worse than Diego Morales.
So much worse. I mean, the bar is pretty low. And Greg Ballard's saying, hey, he's running as nonpartisan. It's a professional choice. And I think that's a key element for him. He needs to keep going back to that. I'm the grown-up in the room. I'm from here, and I'm an adult. I'm a professional, and this is about free and fair elections, and I'm the guy for the job. If he keeps on that message, he actually may not do
Oh, look, I think
Bad.
I think there's a possibility. I still think it's an outside chance because independents always have, the odds are always stacked against him. But I think
But
there's
he's not going to have the machine.
that's exactly right. He's not going to have the machine, but I'm sure he still has contacts. I'm sure he still has a lot of very politically powerful friends. I'm sure that Greg Ballard still has access to a very nice donor base that he can tap into. I think there's a chance that absolutely that Greg Ballard could pull this off and win it all.
So AES abruptly canceled their community open house. The open house was going to let customers come face to face with employees of the utility company. This after their big announcement that the parent company is going to go to a private BlackRock-led $33 billion deal. We're going to talk more about that coming up. We did hear a message from the IURC, and also Indiana State Treasurer Daniel Elliott put out a message about that. So we'll talk more about what's going on with AES in just a bit. Also, burger wars heating up, and we'll get to that.
The
Interesting thing about that is that it's online. I mean, you remember the Where's the Beef, the commercial, right?
Yeah.
On TV.
Of course.
Now it's all on social media.
And it's really it's blown up on social media the last
Everybody's
couple of
getting in
days,
on it,
and so everybody's leaning in.
We're going to get to that coming up. My name is Casey. That's Jim. But students had a little issue yesterday. If you got a high schooler looking to get into college, they were probably, I don't know, relieved or really upset because there was this major technical issue, and it forced the cancellation or postponement of the SAT yesterday for hundreds of students in Indiana. Apparently, there was a glitch in the College Board's online testing platform. So it blocked test access to at least 2 different districts. Here's the thing. You're going to tie these required tests to admission into college. You better make sure they're working.
Yeah, I had no idea. We started digging into this story, and I didn't realize that the state of Indiana requires students to take the SAT for graduation and college admissions. Yeah, so when you require something like that, and by the way, I mean, we're right in the middle of college admissions season. Actually, it's a little late right now because we're already into March. So this is a big deal. If you've got a high school senior or even some juniors that take this test, and all, do you remember right before you took the SATs? I was a mess.
Were you?
The night before. Yeah, I thought, well, I'm a good old boy rule follower, and this, everybody told me the SAT was important, and so I was like,
It goes
okay.
on your permanent record.
Right, exactly. And so I thought, oh gosh, the SAT, this is important. I better be prepared for it. So I was all nervous, and I, getting up early and going to the testing center and spending 2 or 3 hours to take the test. It was a big deal. If I'm an 18-year-old kid and you get all ready for that and prepared for that, and you show up
Mental
and
anguish.
it doesn't work.
Yeah,
Are you
so
kidding me?
are you relieved in that moment, or are you mad because you had all this energy into it?
Oh, for me,
I would have been relieved. I was like, oh yeah.
But see, you're just delaying the
I know,
inevitable.
I
For
know.
me, I would have been miserable. I would have been like, you kidding me? I was ready for this. I've been sweating it for a week. I'm all pitted out over here, getting ready to take this test, and now I can't do it. Oh, and then by the way, I'm just gonna have to go through all this anxiety again once
yep.
they get this fixed, and I have to take the test.
It's not the first time it's happened. They've had previous SAT tech problems, and now some districts have rescheduled the test for this coming Thursday. Psychology, by the way, is the most searched college major in Indiana. That's according to a new study of Google search data. So it topped these kids that wanted to take that SAT and were getting all anxious. You know why? They wanted to get in there and study psychology, apparently.
And now
how this anxiety was affecting their mental health.
Right, exactly. And now they've got a real-world case study to be able to launch their psychological careers, I guess, after this disaster.
Indianapolis Colts. Oh, boy. Big news. They took a calculated risk, didn't they? Tag Jones, but leaving Pierce exposed.
Yeah, so we kind of knew this was coming. There's been rumors for a long time the Colts were going to move on from Anthony Richardson, their former former first-round draft pick at quarterback, and talking about maybe putting him on the trading block. And so, I mean, Chris Ballard. I mean, we just talked about Greg Ballard. Running for Secretary of State. This is Chris Ballard, GM of the Colts. No relation, by the way. He's taken a lot of heat for a number of years on the Colts' performance and how they have had difficulty finding a quarterback. And then we get Daniel Jones last year, and it looks like, at least through halfway of the season, okay, Daniel Jones might be our guy. And then he blows out his Achilles, and he's done for the rest of the year. And that's where Phillip Rivers came in. But of course, Anthony Richards had been injured the entire year long. So it's clear that the Colts are moving on from Anthony Richardson. They're saying by doing this, by saying, okay, Daniel Jones is going to be our guy, because what this transition tag does is it guarantees Daniel Jones about $38 million in salary next year alone.
Well,
And
he can negotiate with other teams, but Indy can also match the offer.
So, yes, this also gives
So
Indianapolis.
that price tag could go up.
Absolutely could go up. It gives Indianapolis this tag, transition tag, gives the Colts first right of refusal. So the Colts are saying, we're going to pay you $38 million next year. Somebody else could come in and say, nope, we want you, Daniel Jones. We're going to pay you $45 million. And then the Colts have a big decision to make. Are we going to let him go, or are we going to match that $45 million? Here's the good news. Daniel Jones was not viewed as a great quarterback before he came to the Colts, had a good half a season, got injured. I just don't see other teams willing to match a $38 million price tag to Daniel Jones. So my guess is he'll be a Colt in the starting quarterback next year.
Does this letting Pierce hit the open market without any protection, could it backfire on Indianapolis?
Well, so you're talking about the wide receiver, Alec Pierce, who, it complicates his free agency issue here. Look, there's a salary cap. You only got so many dollars to go around. They're making that commitment to Daniel Jones and basically telling Alec Pierce, hey, if what kind of money that we've got left is good for you, great. And if not, good luck with your career.
You're listening to Casey and Jim. It is 93 WIBC.
Hammer and Nigel Show back at it this afternoon. The latest on the United States and Iran. We'll have all the news you need to know starting at 3.
Hey, what's going on? It's Hammer from the Hammer and Nigel Show. And I'm not going to lie to you. I needed help. I got a bald spot in the back of my head, and it's embarrassing. I see it when I'm on television. I see it when I'm on the YouTube channel. So I decided to reach out for help. And my friends at We Grow Hair Indy decided to help me out here. These guys are the absolute best. I was a little leery about it. I could not have a procedure that, 1, hurt, or 2, left me looking like I'd been scalped. But after I talked with Darren and the entire team at We Grow Hair Indy, they told me their state-of-the-art technology, the progress made in hair growth, it's going to be okay. If I can do this, you guys can do this. Contact the team at We Grow Hair Indy, 317-522-2995. That's 522-2995. Get that free evaluation. It's free. You can also go online to WeGrowHairIndy.com. Contact them today and do this with me. WeGrowHairIndy.com.
Are you within 5 years of filing for Social Security? You know, when you file impacts more than your benefits check. It could also impact your taxes, IRA, and 401k withdrawals, spousal benefits, and your Medicare premiums. Learn the best time for you to file for your benefits with a free customized Social Security analysis from Bill Demery, your retirement guy in Indy. This analysis pinpoints exactly how you could get the most out of your benefits while considering the impact on your taxes, IRA, and 401k withdrawals, spousal benefits, and more. Go to yourretirementguy.com to schedule that analysis.
And it's absolutely free. If you've saved more than $200,000 and have not yet filed for Social Security, schedule that free analysis right now by calling 317-648-5120. 317-648-5120 or go to yourretirementguy.com.
From military life to a rewarding career in IT, kickstart your new journey in a matter of months in the fields of IT and cybersecurity, including AI. Learn more at mycomputercareer.edu/CWP. Financial aid is available for qualified students, including VA benefits.
LD Smith Plumbing.
A dirty, stinking, honest.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Ask yourself this question. Is it really worth holding on to that timeshare that you know you need to get rid of? Here's the truth. The average maintenance fee just went up over 17%. That could have been 117%, and there's nothing you can do about it. When you buy a timeshare, you give them a blank check for annual maintenance and assessment fees. I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group. For 15 years, I've helped over 50,000 families cancel their timeshare. Not sell it, not transfer it, cancel it. Did you buy a timeshare because they told you it was a great investment and your maintenance fees would never go up? That's a lie. Are you ready to get rid of your timeshare once and for all? Simply call us and I'll send you our timeshare exit kit that explains all your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your timeshare exit kit. 800-515-1771. That's 800-515-1771. 800-515-1771.
See Kid Rock live with John Party on Friday, June 19th at Ruoff Music Center. One huge night of country and rock you won't want to miss. Get your tickets now at WIBC.com.
Fast food marketing is wild. You've got CEOs out there trying to eat their own food for views now. Here's the takeaway. Authenticity matters. Authenticity resonates with people, even in silly corporate videos. If you want people to trust your brand, don't make it look like you just walked out of a boardroom. So you remember the McDonald's CEO posted a video of him tasting the new Arch Burger, and social media mocked him because it looked like he was just taking small, awkward bites, and he called it a product, and he was just nibbling on it. Well, you've got the Burger King CEO coming out and mocking him over that somewhat painful video clip. Here's the CEO of Burger King. Big bite all the way in.
Not bad, right?
Only one thing missing, a napkin.
So his name is Tom Curtis, and he responded. But then it just gets more absurd because this is McDonald's $18 million a year CEO now on camera describing beef notes.
Another video?
And tempered cheese. They are sticking with it, Jim. He's breaking down a Big Mac like he's hosting a wine tasting. Listen to some of the words he says. Visual appeal, tempered cheese, beef notes. He even says different mouth feel at one point.
We're going to do a little comparison between the two, starting with, of course, the iconic McDonald's Big Mac. So here we go. First, visual appeal is very strong. Looks fantastic. Can't wait to bite into it. The cheese is nice and tempered.
Tempered.
Takes a bigger bite this time.
You get a great hit of Big Mac sauce in that. I tasted it. I loved it. The beef notes there, it all works so well together. It may be actually the perfect sandwich, although chicken's now going to try to give it a run for the money. So let's try the chicken Big Mac and see how it compares. Same build. So you'll recognize we still have the 3 buns. We still have all the lettuce and cheese and, of course, the McDonald's Big Mac sauce. But we now have 2 chicken patties. So let's give this a try.
I didn't even know they had a chicken Big Mac.
Really good. One of the things I did like about this chicken Big Mac is the crunchiness of the chicken. You get a crunch.
All right, that's where I've had enough. Sir, this comes in a box. You can eat this in your car.
Right, exactly. This isn't some wine from Napa Valley that you're,
Look at the legs on this.
Drinking with your pinky stuck up in the air. But it's fascinating to see the difference because if you watch the video, the McDonald's CEO, he's kind of a dorky guy, and he just seemed very stilted and staged. And like you said, mouthfeel just didn't seem very natural. And then and it was, by the way, that McDonald's video, both of them, they were like 2 or 3 minutes long. These weren't that quick. And then you got Burger King, total opposite. That guy, look, I'm a heterosexual male, but I'm comfortable enough in my sexuality to say that Burger King CEO, that's a good-looking guy. Good-looking guy. Real quick, what does he do? Bites into the hamburger real fast. He's like, the only problem is I don't have a napkin.
I don't know.
7 seconds long, and he was done. Burger King got their message out in 7 seconds. McDonald's has had to release 2 2-minute videos and kind of clunk their way through this to get to where they want to be.
McDonald's is sticking with it, though. They're sticking with the CEO marketing guy, and he did a Q&A later. Like, he's just a regular guy. I think you're going to see more of him. Get used to it.
I'm going to Taco Bell. Forget both of them.
You're listening to 93 WIBC.
Groceries, gas, just about everything you can buy comes with a tax on it. No matter what, the government's always there to take their cut of your cash. Your money belongs to you. That's why Congressman Jim Baird joined with President Donald Trump to pass historic legislation to ensure you keep more of your hard-earned cash. According to the White House, Congressman Baird's vote means Americans will receive a tax cut, saving over $10,000 every year. They'll get no taxes on tips for workers, and families will receive permanent increases to child tax credits and expanded child care access. That means bigger paychecks, a stronger economy, and more prosperity across our nation. To learn more about how President Trump and Congressman Jim Baird are saving American families money and putting money in your wallet, call Congressman Baird's office at 317-563-5567 or visit baird.house.gov.
Paid for by official funds authorized by the House of Representatives.
High five! Up top! Dave's company just got the 5-year price lock guarantee from Comcast Business. Yeah! It's 5 years of gig speed internet, advanced security, and a great rate that won't change. All from the company with 99.9% network reliability. Heck yeah! He hasn't given this many high fives since Deborah brought in her famous banana bread. Yes! The Comcast Business 5-year price lock guarantee. Powering 5 years of savings, powering possibilities. And it's hurting, but I am not stopping.
Woo! For a limited time, now through March 29th, switch to Comcast Business to lock in your rate for 5 years and get a $500 prepaid card on a qualifying gig bundle. Or ask how to get started with 300 megabit internet and Security Edge for $74 a month with a 2-year agreement. Call today. Restrictions apply. New customers only. 1-year contract required for guaranteed rate. Paperless billing and automatic payments with bank account required. 5-year pricing applies to monthly service charge excluding taxes and fees.
At Pella Windows and Doors of Indianapolis, we've spent decades helping homeowners replace their windows and doors with products they can trust, installed by local experts. For a limited time, get 24% off Pella products. Visit PellaIndy.com/radio to learn why America's homeowners rate Pella Windows and Doors #1 most trusted and highest value. Call 833-87-PELLA. Restrictions apply. See site for details. Study of homeowner perceptions of leading national brands. Study commissioned by Pella, 2023.
Spring is fast approaching and a great time for a new Lincoln at Tom Roush Lincoln in Fishers. 0% financing is back. That's right, 0% for 48 months on new Corsair, Nautilus, and Aviator. Plus 0% for 36 months on new Navigator. With these rates, it's absolutely the best time to buy. Be sure to check them all out at Tom Roush Lincoln in Fishers. Our family serving yours since 1972.
0% APR for 48 months on 2026 Lincoln Corsair, Nautilus, and Aviator. 0% APR for 36 months on 2025 Lincoln Navigator. Subject to credit approval. Offers end 3/31/26. See dealer for complete offer details.
Hey, can you blow up some balloons for Jack's party?
I can't. I'm so congested.
You need Sinex Saline from Vicks.
Sinex Saline Nasal Spray?
Yeah, just Sinex. Breathe.
Sinex Saline instantly clears everyday congestion associated with colds and year-round allergies with a gentle, ultra-fine mist that's no mess and easy to control.
Daddy, we need more balloons.
On it.
Enjoy life's important moments without congestion. Try Sinex Saline from Vicks. Just Sinex. Breathe. Use as directed.
Coming up in 2 minutes from the Dugan Air Heating and Cooling Mitsubishi Electric Studios, more rain is on the way. How much did Indianapolis get on Tuesday? The worry from an Indianapolis City County Council member about the potential AES and BlackRock deal. Who's throwing their name into the hat for Indiana Secretary of State? And plenty of Indiana college basketball teams are on the court tonight in some of their final regular season games. You're listening to 93 WIBC, WIBC HD1 Indianapolis.
We're just getting started. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. That's what the War Secretary says on day 5 of Operation Epic Fury.
Iran's capabilities are evaporating by the hour, while American strength grows fiercer, smarter, and utterly dominant. More bombers and more fighters are arriving just today.
And Pete Hegseth says Iran's Air Force is no more. Its Navy's at the bottom of the Persian Gulf.
We've taken control of Iran's airspace and waterways without boots on the ground.
And Secretary Hegseth says the U.S. will avenge the deaths of the 6 American troops killed, adding Iran's senior leaders are already dead.
The so-called governing council that might have selected a successor, dead, missing, or cowering in bunkers, too terrified to even occupy the same room.
And Fox's Jonathan Savage reports.
The state funeral of Iran's assassinated Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, scheduled for today, has now been postponed. As Iran continues to retaliate, Turkey says NATO defences have intercepted a ballistic missile launched from Iran as it approached Turkish airspace.
Iran is also targeting Israel again.
Right now we have incoming Iranian ballistic missile fire. An early alert went out to phones telling people to head into bomb shelters And right now, there are no interceptions behind me, but it's coming again in what appears to be another coordinated attack between Iran and their Lebanese militant group, Proxy Hezbollah.
That's Fox's Trey Yingst, who's wearing a combat helmet in Tel Aviv. At the House, two different topics in one hearing. Republican Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer focusing on years of fraud in Minnesota.
We have spoken with over 30 whistleblowers, many of them current employees and Democrats, who say they were ignored, retaliated against, and even surveilled for raising concerns.
But House Democrats, including Robert Garcia, are focused on controversial immigration enforcement in Minneapolis.
Peaceful Americans have been killed by federal officers and agents and labeled them as domestic terrorists.
America's listening to Fox News.
Free WIBC mobile news on the level, on the go.
There's another round of it coming. Cloudy and 47 in Indianapolis. Foggy, too. We'll reach 57 for a high later on today. I'm Jarrett Lewis. Here's what's trending at 10:02. Forecaster Joe Neal from the National Weather Service in Indianapolis says the city reached a new mark with the amount of rain it got on Tuesday.
We did set a daily record yesterday for March 3rd, 2.59 here at Indy. That broke the previous record, 2.24, from just 3 years ago, March 3rd of 2023.
But there are more severe weather chances for later today as well. Neal said these storms may produce hail and damaging winds, mainly in southern Indiana. That will bring the concern for more flooding. A flood watch was in effect up until this hour. Former Indianapolis Mayor Greg Ballard is announcing his candidacy for Indiana Secretary of State as an independent.
This office must not be partisan. It should be mainly focused on one thing: safeguarding the integrity and professionalism of our elections.
That video posted by Ballard earlier today. A poll conducted by Independent Indiana shows the former Indy mayor as a competitive candidate, trailing Democratic challenger Bo Bai and Republican incumbent Diego Morales by a few points. Bai released a statement in just the last few minutes appreciating the mayor's many years of service as a Marine, but said his campaign is the only one that can oust Morales. The charges are murder and arson for a man who police say started a fire at a Westside Indy mobile home last month. Prosecutors say Randall Buchanan poured nail polish remover on a couch in the living room and then lit it on fire, ultimately killing his girlfriend, Bonnie Arnold. She died from smoke inhalation in her bedroom. Indianapolis Councilmember Michael Paul Hart is concerned about BlackRock possibly acquiring AES.
This big private equity firm, BlackRock, and some other partners of them looking to buy it. And one of the concerns that I have personally, but I also hear from a lot of people is, all right, we've got a for-profit company coming to buy a public utility.
Councilor Hart was on WIBC's The Hammer and Nigel show on Tuesday. The total value of the sale is around $33.5 billion. If unanimously approved by AES's board, the deal could close later this year. Hart said he's already heard from Indy residents who are worried that service will falter and their electric rates will soar because of this deal with BlackRock. AES Indiana just canceled a public meeting to be held at a YMCA in Indianapolis about the possible deal after reports came in of threats. The 15th-ranked Purdue Boilermakers are hosting Northwestern this evening inside Mackey Arena. Head coach Matt Painter on what the Boilers need to do to break out of their recent slump.
Yeah, I think it starts with on the basketball. I know it starts on the basketball. You just can't let the ball be in the paint and live in the paint. Like, you've got to be able to draw a line in the sand. It starts with, guarding the basketball and, having some pride in keeping the ball in front of you.
Purdue has lost 3 of their last 4 games. Elsewhere for tonight, IU will meet Minnesota at Assembly Hall. Butler welcomes in Creighton, and Notre Dame has Stanford. I'm Jarrett Lewis on the level, on the go, and on WIBC.com.
Greetings from R&R Agency, your Indiana health insurance pros, and a sincere thank you to our loyal customers for helping us to another record year. We recently saved a 62-year-old retiring couple over $800 monthly when compared to their COBRA offerings. We recently saved a family of 4 over $400 monthly when compared to their $7,500 deductible program on the ACA, and that's still Obamacare. We recently saved a small 4-man manufacturing company over $1,000 monthly and gave them better coverage. We feature coverages guaranteed to age 65, low out-of-pocket expenses, the largest networks in the country, and you can sign up anytime. If you are retiring early, self-employed, or need coverage for your small group, call us at 317-563-0868 or go to rragency.org. If you don't call us, we can't help you. What do you got to lose? Call us 317-563-0868 or go to rragency.org. As always, God bless America, common sense government, and peace through strength.
Oh, we gonna rock down to Electric Avenue, and then we'll take it higher.
People Folks should be able to ask questions about their utility bills without it turning into threats of fear or confrontation. If customers are frustrated, and many clearly are, the answers aren't intimidation. It's real communication, accountability, and transparency from the utility and regulators so folks know why costs are rising and who is making the decision. So AES Indiana, they canceled a planned community open house event in Indianapolis yesterday, less than an hour before it was scheduled to start. The company said the cancellation was due to threats made on social media against the event. The WIBC newsroom reached out to the Public Information Office of the IMPD, and they said that their office was not aware of any threats at this time. But safety definitely is a number one top priority. I know you're frustrated. I know you're curious about what the sale to BlackRock means, but you have to do everything peacefully. Violence is not the answer.
Yeah, so this controversy around BlackRock potentially purchasing AES, I'm kind of starting to get the same vibes that I had during all of the data center, town halls that were happening and controversies associated with that, from the aspect of there does seem to be this swelling at the grassroots level of opposition to this purchase of AES by BlackRock. And I completely get it. Look, we're all upset. We've all seen our electric bills, and we've had the reports in the last couple of weeks of people in northern Indiana seeing, their electric bills, sometimes double and even triple. So this is a problem that we've already got. Now, added on top of that problem, you're looking at a company like BlackRock potentially paying AES. Now, keep in mind, BlackRock is this massive investment company. They were one of the huge proponents of corporate DEI and corporate environmentalism and everything they've done the last 10 years. Now, to be fair to BlackRock, they've kind of backed off of that the last year or so. But they were really on the forefront of pushing DEI in corporations and pushing for environmental controls in corporations. So a lot of people view them disfavorably to start with. And I think at the end of the day, what Hoosiers are concerned about is, hey, my bill keeps going up. And by the way, I don't want it to go up further. And then you have this look where, okay, and I'll give AES credit. They were going to have this public meeting so that members of the public could come and talk to them and ask questions. And unfortunately, it got canceled. And that's just another black eye on this whole process.
So the consortium includes Global Infrastructure Partners, which is part of BlackRock, also EQT Infrastructure, which is the California Public Employees Retirement System, and also the Qatar Investment Authority. So not only are they going to be out of state, these investors, they're out of the country. And you might recall we sent a note to AES yesterday if they would answer some questions. And they said this transaction will deliver compelling near-term value to stockholders.
That's the first sentence.
That's
after you requested
Yes.
somebody to come on here and be interviewed, they sent you a prepared statement in the first sentence. Read that again, please.
The transaction will deliver compelling near-term value to stockholders.
Yeah.
They did go on to say it will better position AES to drive sustained growth across its business units, allowing the company to deliver reliable energy solutions for customers and create long-term value for stockholders.
Yeah, shocking. When we
It's
you may
about the
find this
stockholders.
surprising. I'm not really concerned about the stockholders of AES. I'm concerned about my electric bill and the electric bill of common Hoosiers and people that are struggling to get by day to day. And this is just another example of things becoming unaffordable in this country and certainly unaffordable in the state. And I think that our lawmakers are going to have to deal with this. Look, I've seen a ton of Democrats come out against this. Andre Carson came out against this. Several other Democrats came out against this. For the most part, from the Republican Party, it's been crickets. Now, Michael Paul Hart did come out, and we just had that from the WIBC newsroom a few minutes ago. But he's the only Republican that I heard of that really came out strongly against this.
I've got another one for
Oh,
you.
is there another one? Okay,
Yes,
please.
You've got the state treasurer, Daniel Elliott.
Thank you. I forgot. That was a big story yesterday.
Yeah,
You're
he
right.
released a statement. He said he has spent the past 24 hours gathering information, and he's increasingly worried by the potential deal and the impact it will have on Hoosiers in central Indiana. He went on to say Hoosiers need to be guaranteed that they will not face harm at a time when affordability is one of the most important issues facing all of us. No kidding. This on top of the fact that we know our gas prices are elevating as well. He said, I hope that the federal regulators that are in charge of reviewing and approving this merger will complete a full review and give Hoosiers complete transparency on the terms of this deal. Now, AES, they say that AES Indiana and its Ohio utility are going to remain locally operated and regulated, and that the acquisition is not expected to affect customer electricity rates. Sure, they can say that now, but then in 2027, if and when the deal goes through, well, we've got to ensure that our stockholders get long-term value, so we have to raise your rate.
Well, and they've given themselves enough wiggle room there by saying, hey, we don't expect this to be a situation where we're going to have to raise rates. And in 2 years from now, when they raise rates, go, that was unexpected. Weren't expecting that. They gave themselves enough wiggle room in that statement to be able to do whatever they want to do going forward. But a standing ovation to Daniel Elliott. That was a very strong statement about how this needs to be reviewed closely and how there need to be protections in place to keep rates from going out of control.
So if a company that controls essential services, and yeah, your electricity, that's an essential service, it's owned by big private investors, profit motives can easily outweigh accountability to ratepayers and the local communities. So I did reach out to the IURC.
Yeah, what'd they have to say?
They said, as you may know, AES Indiana currently has a rate case pending before the commission under IURC cause number 46258. As with any rate case before the commission, all aspects of the utilities, rates, and business performance will be reviewed and taken into consideration before making a decision. However, because of this pending docketed proceeding, we're unable to comment at this time about the acquisition. They did go on to say, under state law, the IURC does not have jurisdiction over mergers or acquisitions of public utility holding companies, which is true. They can't determine whether the sale goes through one way or the other, but they are looking into a current rate case that's before the commission.
Yeah, and
which means down the road, there most likely will be another one.
Yeah, absolutely. There's going to be another one because it seems like that every time we turn around, we keep getting utility rate increases shoved down our throats. And I will give just an update on AES's canceled meeting yesterday. They have not rescheduled that yet, but there are still 2 additional meetings on the schedule that, as of now, are going to proceed as planned. The next one is Tuesday, March 10th at the Frederick Douglass Family Center, and then on Wednesday, March 11th. At the Decatur Township School for Excellence. So hopefully those meetings will take place. Hopefully a lot of people from those communities will attend and ask good questions, and hopefully we'll get some answers out of AES.
Yeah, Hoosiers, we need regulators watching this closely. They need to make sure that the power stays reliable and affordable for Hoosiers, not just profitable for Wall Street. So it was a big day yesterday for Kristi Noem. It was the Senate Judiciary Committee hearing, and you had a lot going on. At one point, Senator Coons was asking if Kristi Noem would rule out deployment of ICE at polling stations this coming November.
You rule out the deployment of ICE or CBP to polling places this November.
There are no plans to have ICE officers at our polling locations. And
I'm glad to hear that, but would you rule it out? Would you say it will not happen?
Do you plan on illegal aliens voting in our elections?
So Kristi Noem, she's this is a woman who has built her brand on being bold. I mean, she gets both intense loyalty and intense criticism, and it's because she puts herself out there, albeit in a Kevlar vest. But she does put herself out there.
And when you do that, when you put yourself out there, and when you're heading up an agency that's taking controversial actions
and
like
is
ICE
very
has,
polarizing
and is extraordinarily polarizing, you better bet that the rest of your business
is
better be buttoned up tight with all the I's dotted and all the T's crossed, and that's where Kristi Noem is failing. And I don't have a problem with Kristi Noem and what's been going on with ICE, and yes, it's been sloppy, and there's been problems, and I think they're doing their best to manage it. It's not the ICE issues that I have a problem with Kristi Noem. It's the fact that she can't stop spending money on things like redoing Department of Homeland Security planes with all these luxury features and private bedrooms that look like a gorgeous Manhattan apartment. I have a problem with the fact that for years there's been rumors that she's having an affair with a person who's on the Department of Homeland Security staff. It's these other aspects out there that are the issue with Kristi Noem. And I think that's, obviously in addition to everything with ICE, if you're going to run something like ICE, if you're going to spend $200 million in marketing and TV commercials about ICE, and you're the face of it, you're like the primary person part of that, you better have all your other ducks in the row with all the rest of your business. And obviously she hasn't. And she got called, quote unquote, called on the carpet by Donald Trump when he removed her from Minnesota and Minneapolis, sent her back down to watch the southern border, and ended up putting Tom Homan in Minneapolis.
It's interesting you bring that up because Senator John Kennedy, this is the guy from Louisiana, he was questioning her, and he was asking her about the $220 million DHS ad campaign that just happens to prominently feature her.
How do you square that concern for waste, which I share, with the fact that you have spent $220 million running television advertisements that feature you prominently?
Sir, the president tasked me with getting the message out to the country and to other countries where we were seeing the invasion come from, with putting commercials out that told them that if they were in this country illegally, that they needed to leave, or we would detain them and remove them, and they'd not get the chance to come back to America the right way. That has been extremely effective.
Ask you to run these advertisements, is that right?
We had that conversation, yes, before I was put in this position and sworn in and confirmed, and since then as well.
Okay. Did you bid out those service contracts?
Yes, they did. They went out to a competitive bid, and career officials at the department chose who would do those advertising commercials.
Yeah, she kept getting questioned about it, and she was like, yeah, no, they were bid out. So she doesn't try to water down her position to win over the middle. And that's the upside for voters, because voters are just tired and cautious of seeing these scripted politicians. And love her or hate her, like it or don't, she is authentic, at least, and she is willing to fight. Now, the downside of that is when you lead with these sharp edges, every move you make gets completely amplified, and every misstep, and she's had some, they become national news.
When you've got the current state of politics in our country, and I'm talking about party politics, where the liberals and the Democrats defend the liberals and the Democrats, and the Republicans do the same thing. We just saw this in the last couple of weeks with that Republican Rep Sanchez, who allegedly had an affair with a staffer, and Mike Johnson couldn't run to a microphone fast enough to defend him. So that's the current state of politics in this country. So when you've got a obvious Republican like Kristi Noem getting asked difficult, tough questions by Republican Senator Willis and Republican Senator Kennedy, she's in the hot seat right now. She's got a problem, and there's people calling for her resignation.
So we've got former FBI Special Agent Corey Grass, who's going to join us at 11 o'clock. We're going to talk counterterrorism, counterintelligence, and your own personal safety keys. And up next from the WIBC newsroom, Johnette Cruz is going to join us. You're listening to Casey and Jim. It's 93 WIBC.
The tournament looms. The bracket picture tightens. And every game carries more weight. He had it! The Big Ten doesn't give second chances.
We're playing great basketball. We want to keep it rolling.
And March doesn't forgive mistakes.
Indiana has pulled it off.
If you want better seating, if you want momentum, you earn it now. IU meets Minnesota tonight at 6:30 on the home of the Hoosiers, 93 WIBC.
I work here.
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 We all work here at Radio 1 Indianapolis, one of the most diverse media groups in the world. We bring very different backgrounds and ideas together to create the best information and entertainment around. And right now, we're looking for someone to join the family. We have a sales assistant position available. If you've got great organizational skills and an interest in media and entertainment, we want to talk to you. Apply now at radio1.com/careers. Bilingual preferred. Radio 1 is an equal opportunity employer.
As you know, I had my garage floor coated with Galaxy concrete coatings a while back, and like anyone, I did some homework before I said, let's do this. Here are some things that I found out. First, Galaxy concrete coatings is local and ready to give you and all of Indianapolis a transformation. Next, Galaxy concrete coatings is 4 times stronger than epoxy, and it's designed to not only work in your garage, but they can also use it on driveways, walkways, around your pool or patio. With it being UV resistant, it will not yellow. Oh, and it's ready to go in 24 hours, so you can drive, walk, run, dance, splash on it right away. Now for my fun part. I got you 15% off. Just tell them when you call 317-343-0879 you want the Casey deal. You got to tell them the Casey deal for 15% off. And check out their site at galaxyconcretecoatings.com. They are truly out of this world.
LifeLock, how can I help?
The IRS said I filed my return, but I haven't.
1 in 4 tax-paying Americans has paid the price of identity fraud.
What do I do? My refund, though. I'm freaking out.
Don't worry, I can fix this.
LifeLock fixes identity theft guaranteed and gets your money back with up to $3 million in coverage.
I'm so relieved.
No problem. I'll be with you every step of the way.
1 in 4 was a fraud-paying American. Not anymore. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code NEWS at LifeLock.com. Terms apply.
Garage door problems? Call today for service today. Garage Doors of Indianapolis services all makes of garage doors 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Call today for service today. 875-4577. Call today for service today. Get it fixed right now. Call Garage Doors of Indianapolis at 875-4577 or visit doorstoday.com.
In the morning, call 875-4577.
Service today?
Today.
My grades were bad. I would get D's and C's. I appeared to be doing good at my school life, but if you would see me at home, it would have been a completely different story.
I mean, it was just rough focusing on school when your mother is somebody you have to take care of. It got worse and worse and worse throughout the years.
There are students who need somebody.
They can trust someone, and it could be the first person they've ever trusted in their life.
Communities in Schools is lowering America's dropout rate by helping more than 1.3 million kids every year get whatever they need to succeed in school.
If something was going on at home, we would go just stop by Miss Liberty's office and talk to her.
Communities in Schools vouched for me when everyone else had lost hope.
You can help change the picture of education right here in your community and across the nation. Visit communitiesInschools.org.
I hear people say we can't save every kid, but I think that we can.
Meet Drexel Interior's new cabinet line, Drexel Select. Premium cabinets with multiple colors and free in-store design. Get yours in just 5 days. Visit DrexelIN.com to upgrade your home today.
Good stuff coming out of the WIBC newsroom via Johnette Cruz, who joins us in the studio right now. Okay, we have to talk about this sergeant, former sergeant, who was whistleblowing, exposing abuse in the Indiana prison system. Why did she contact you?
You know, that's what I said the same thing. It was from the past story I did on the Plainfield Correctional Facility. And so she saw my story and she sent me a DM specifically on TikTok and said, hey, I have a story. I want to go public with it, and I think it's time for me to share what I've experienced.
Okay, what did she share with you?
So she was a sergeant at the Miami Correctional Facility from June of 2023 till around the later part of 2024, and she experienced a multitude of things in terms of, first of all of a sudden she got promoted very quickly, which at the beginning she kind of thought it was like, wow, I'm getting promoted. I must be doing my job.
Yeah.
Well, it's apparently because, the turnover there is just insane. She described it as a promotion to fail because you're not getting adequately trained within the position that you're doing. She had no protective gear for months, and they claimed it was because they didn't have anything in her size. So here was she walking and roaming the halls and doing what she was supposed to do without any protective gear at all, without any pepper spray, nothing to defend herself. She also had alleged some sexual harassment from some of her superiors. And so when she tried tried to submit that information into their system. It's called a Delta system in the facilities. And when she submitted, it goes through a process. So when you submit something, it just doesn't go directly to a system where people overlook it. It goes to the superiors who you're actually reporting on. So essentially her tickets would get intercepted and then they wouldn't follow through.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so she was like in this circle of, okay, I'm getting harassed, I'm submitting what I'm supposed to be doing, but now I'm reporting on the people who are actually getting these reports, and now they're not sending it downstate to where they need to go.
Tell me about the starvation and the plastic fork incident.
Oh my goodness. This I could not believe. So she was actually in their restrictive housing unit, and she was told to watch this specific inmate to make sure that no food gets passed to him. He apparently got so delirious to the point that he found a plastic fork and he started to stab himself with it. And his intestines fell out of his stomach.
Ew.
And they entered him into a mental facility.
Yeah.
And she had to sit there and watch it and not do anything about it.
Now, reporting this and following the proper complaint procedure is so important in situations like this. And you mentioned that she did that for the sexual harassment process of that. Did she also follow through and report any complaints on this starvation issue?
Yeah, she reported every single thing
Wow.
and everything. She had
Wow.
pushback. A lot of times they were just like, if you don't like it, you can leave. You know, Indiana is a free will, at will state, and,
Yeah.
you can just go ahead and walk. She said she got to a point where the job was so detrimental to herself and to her mental state that they actually ended up admitting her to a hospital, putting her on suicide watch because she couldn't take it. She was getting peed on. She got things thrown at her. I mean, it was just absolutely insane. And so I just could not believe all of these reports. And I contacted the Indiana Department of Corrections. I contacted Miami Correctional Facility.
Yeah, what's the
because
official
I was
response
like,
been?
hello, like, what is this? Is this true? If it is, were the proper steps taken in order to rectify the situation? Nobody has responded to me.
Okay.
You would think this is kind of a pretty big story of accusations for somebody to respond something in regards to their prison system.
Was she able to offer you any sort of documents or any reports or any other parties to confirm this?
She did list a lot of people that she worked with during that time frame. I also reached out to them as well, and I have not gotten responses to them. But because of this story coming out, I also right now have DMs in my social media of people who have specifically worked in that space and said, I was also a former sergeant. All of this did happen to me.
So people
too.
are coming through and
Yes.
want to corroborate her
Absolutely.
story.
Wow.
Wow.
And so that I have actually another story in my DM right now. I just kind of skimmed through it before we came on air. And she has a similar story where they actually tried to settle with her. And they made it to turn around that everything was her fault. And so I was like, oh, wow, I've got to dig into this a little bit more.
Now, because she claims she did file the proper reports and the procedures and complaints about this, that should leave a paper trail. Have you tried getting access to those documents?
Yeah, but nobody will respond to me.
Okay. Oh, so that was, you reached out saying,
Yeah.
hey, I'd like access to these,
Yes,
and they haven't
absolutely.
responded yet.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay, quickly, you've also got some new accusations rocking the Clinton County Sheriff's Office.
Yes, so they had their sheriff had a merit meeting this past week, and at the end of it, they let the public come in to say anything that need to say to kind of talk with the sheriffs. Somebody stood up who is a lifelong resident over in Frankfort in Clinton County, and he specified that the town has been talking about a lot of things happening in regards to the sheriff's office, specifically Captain Matt Myers. There is some accusations of some sexual relations within a civilian employee of the sheriff's office, as well as there has been alleged some instances of him being intoxicated and then sleeping it off at the sheriff's office. So
any reaction from local officials on this?
Oh, nobody will contact me back either. And it's so funny because that merit meeting, it's a public meeting. The video is on YouTube. I recorded it. I got the transcript off of
Wow.
YouTube because this is a public meeting.
Sure.
And so at the end of it, you see the people from the sheriff's office, they're just sitting there looking at this guy, and they quickly abruptly end the meeting. They have no feedback for him. And he's basically saying, this is my, as a duty, as a resident of this space, I am going to file a formal complaint about this because this is awful. This county has experienced so many accusations since 2019. And so now that's just the latest.
Well, you can find both of these investigative articles at WIBC.com. And Johnette, because you seem to be getting a lot of your leads through social media,
Yes.
tell everybody what those handles are.
Yeah, you can find me everywhere on social media. It's just the Johnette Cruz. I am on Facebook. I am on Instagram. I'm on TikTok. Also on X. Please be advised that my DMs are very full right now. I am trying my best to sift through them, but the best news stories I'm getting is literally from the people of Central Indiana.
Yeah, thanks for the insight.
Awesome. Yeah.
You're listening to 93 WIBC.
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
Congress is wanting their say. I'm Jarrett Lewis. Here's what's trending now at 10:31. Congress is taking its first vote today on U.S. combat operations in Iran. Fox's Jared Halpern has more from the White House.
Senators will consider a war powers resolution that would force President Trump to end hostilities against Iran without congressional approval.
If the case for war were strong, it would be consistent. Instead, the rationales change by the hour.
Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer says he has not heard a clear strategy from the administration, describing Operation Epic Fury as a war of choice. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has briefed lawmakers the past 2 days on Capitol Hill.
This is an action by the president to address a real threat.
President Trump told reporters he strongly believes Iran was preparing to strike U.S. forces first.
And the conflict in the Middle East rages on following U.S. and Israeli strikes on Iran over the weekend. Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Dan Kane, outlines the next steps the military will take in the area.
We will now begin to expand inland, striking progressively deeper into Iranian territory and creating additional freedom of maneuver for U.S. forces.
Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps threatened to completely destroy the region's military and economic infrastructure if U.S. strikes were to continue. Iran has launched attacks against other countries in the Middle East following the initial strikes. House Republicans believe both Minnesota Governor Tim Walz and Attorney General Keith Ellison knew about the fraud allegations in their state far earlier than previously thought. Ellison testified before the House Oversight Committee today that his office has worked hard to combat fraud in Minnesota.
Operation Metro Surge did nothing to address fraud in our state. It harmed our economy, it scarred our people, and it dealt a devastating blow to fraud enforcement in Minnesota.
Merritt claims the recent ICE operation in Minnesota set back those efforts. And a special education teacher in upstate New York is arrested after police say she gave psychedelic mushrooms to a child. I'm Jarrett Lewis, on the level, on the go, and on WIBC.com.
Farnsworth Metal Recycling, a familiar face in Indy.
Farnsworth Metal Recycling will pay you cash for your scrap metal. Ray's Demolition and Farnsworth Metal Recycling may seem familiar to you, and that's because they are. They're trusted local family-owned businesses going back 3 generations in Indy with their familiar orange logo and a name you know. But you may not know they'll pay you cash for your scrap metal. Cash is king. Your scrap aluminum, steel, copper, and brass will get you cash from Farnsworth Metal Recycling. Just drop it off and you'll put cash in your pocket. Ray's Demolition and Farnsworth Metal Recycling. Local names you can trust with 2 locations.
Farnsworth Metal Recycling, a familiar face in Indy.
Get cash for your scrap. Get started at farnsworthmetals.com.
Veterans and active duty service members, when your call to service ends, your mission doesn't have to. Go from GI to IT in just a few months at My Computer Career. Prepare for a high-demand career in cybersecurity, protecting people, systems, and institutions from real cyber threats. Cyber warriors are needed now. Will you answer the call? Go to mycomputercareer.edu/CWP to learn more. That's mycomputercareer.edu/CWP, an Elite CompTIA certification partner. VA education benefits are available to those who qualify.
Pat Sullivan here. Fire emergency? I've had one. If you do, call Michaelis. Owner Richard Michaelis explains why.
Michaelis is local and family owned. 39 years of experience with 24/7, 365 response. The Michaelis Corporation is IICRC certified, restoring your home or business to pre-loss condition or better.
And Michaelis helps you through the insurance process, giving you peace of mind. Water, storms, fire, and mold. Life happens. Michaelis happens to help you through it. Text or call 844-FIX-INDY.
Texting enrolls you in a recurring automated marketing text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
The team's looking
looking good this season.
I think so. Man, I miss playing football. Ever since I turned 40, I just can't find that fire I used to have.
Think it could be lower testosterone?
What do you mean?
I was feeling the same way. After 40, the body has less testosterone, and men lose their edge. That's why I take Nugenix Total T2.
That's the testosterone booster, right?
Yes, but Total T2 is their brand new formula that skyrockets nitric oxide levels in as little as 3 hours. Since I started taking it, I've been lifting like when we played for Coach Carter. My energy is way up, and it even spiced up things between me and the missus.
Are they still giving out complimentary bottles?
Yep, just send a text.
Text RULE to 215215 for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T2, the next generation testosterone booster. Text now and we'll include a bottle of Nugenix Thermo X, our newest, most powerful fat burner ever, absolutely free. Text RULE to 215215. That's RULE to 215215. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Upgrade your flooring with Drexel Interiors. Shop pet-friendly carpet and luxury vinyl plank on sale now. Plus, get 12 months interest-free financing. Visit their Indianapolis or Carmel showrooms or DrexelIN.com.
If Washington really wants to protect working families from global turmoil, we need energy independence, strong domestic production, and policies that put Americans' economic stability ahead of overseas conflicts that send prices higher at home. You know, every time there's conflict in the Middle East, we're told to brace for higher gas prices, and somehow we're still acting surprised. So if we're producing at full strength at home, oil, natural gas, and refining capacity, the global shocks wouldn't hit American families nearly as hard.
It dramatically different, because the last time we had a major conflict in the Middle East was the Iraq War in 2003, and obviously we saw huge spikes in oil prices and gas prices. But the world was a lot different back then when it comes to who produces the oil. Since then, and the shale revolution that has swept across the country. I mean, the United States is the #1 oil producer in the world. So we've got a lot more control over the price of oil than we did 20 years ago, and the last time we had a major military operation in Iraq. And also, when oil goes up, there's a significant benefit to a lot of people in the United States because we are producing so much more oil. Long gone are the days of OPEC. You remember, you used to hear about OPEC all the time. That was the oil consortium that would try and regulate and control the price of oil, and it was Venezuela, and it was Saudi Arabia, and a whole bunch of other countries, and the United States was left outside of that. You don't even really hear about OPEC anymore, and that's because they don't have anywhere near the power to control the price of oil and control the flow of oil, and that is directly because the United States is now producing so much oil. Now I'm not going to say that, we're still going to see increases in gas prices, and we saw, over a 10% jump just in the last 24 hours, and that's certainly going to hit everybody and how much it costs for everything, because again, like we've talked about too, everything you see everywhere, just look around wherever you're sitting right now. At one point in time, everything you see was on a truck being shipped somewhere, and so obviously the price of gas is, translates down into increased costs for everything else because of shipping.
Well, wasn't everybody was saying, the whole thing about Venezuela, that was all about oil, except that oil in Venezuela is really thick, and they need that shale oil in Iran to dilute it, to actually make it that sludge move.
Yeah, that's part of it, and but again, Venezuela and Saudi Arabia aren't nearly the oil producers that they used to be 20 years ago, and that's a big part of this. And so let's take a look at the price of oil, because you would think that the price of oil would go up dramatically with this invasion in Iraq or in Iran rather, and yeah, it has gone up about 15%. But it's fascinating that all of the other economic indicators that you normally see that get shocked when we have some sort of a military invasion like this are all pretty much holding steady. Like right now, the stock market, the Dow Jones is up about 200 points. Stock market, and all three of them, Dow Jones and the S&P and the NASDAQ, they're all at about the same place that they were last week. So it hasn't been this real shock to the system for the stock market. And the price of gold has actually gone down. Normally, when you've got this international conflict, it creates uncertainty. There's a flight to quality, and people buy precious metals like gold. Price of gold's actually down about 5 to 10% since last week before the invasion of Iran.
You do have Japan's Nikkei. It was down 3.6%. Dubai Stock Exchange reopened after a 2-day closure, and it went down 4.9%. It was their worst day since May of 22. You've got Brent crude prices. They're now up $83. That's up 30 Yeah, 36% year to date. And Lockheed Martin and RTX executives meeting at the White House on Friday, and that's to discuss accelerating weapons production. The problem, so here's the thing, gas prices spike. Voters aren't going to blame Tehran first.
No,
They're not going to say this is Iran's fault.
No, absolutely not.
They're
They're-
going to say this is Trump administration.
Yeah, they're going to blame the politicians in this country, and they, whether that's right or wrong. Look, I'm going to let you in on a little secret here. President generally doesn't control the price of oil. Now, obviously, in this case, it did.
No, but
and
that's who
President
Americans
Trump-
are going to blame.
But that's who Americans are going to blame, and rightly so. That's who we can vote on, and that's how politicians should be held accountable, because it feeds into the overall biggest problem that we have in this country right now. And we had the polling just a few weeks ago that when people asked right before the State of the Union, what is the biggest problem in this country right now? It was all talked to affordability, economy, jobs. That was everything. I mean, second place wasn't even close. So we talked about this too before the State of the Union. This continues to be a problem for Trump and the Republicans from a political analytic situation. They have got to be able to show the American voter that they are doing things to get the cost of living in this country under control, or they are going to get hammered in the midterms coming up in November.
Okay, so now you've got reports that U.S. banks are on high alert for cybersecurity attacks as this war escalates. And coming up at 11 o'clock, we're going to be speaking with former FBI specialist Corey Grass, and we're going to talk about cybersecurity and the importance of that. But you've got the biggest cootie I've ever seen now, Lindsey Graham, and he's talking about that there's going to be massive new attacks on Iran. Those are imminent, and you can see how the progression of it has been interesting to watch based on the artillery and the planes that we've been using.
Yeah, so kind of one of the stories that came out yesterday with the conflict in Iran was that America sent in B-52 bombers. And yeah, that's the same B-52 bomber that first came into service about 70 years ago. But you can watch how the air defense system in Iran is getting degraded day by day.
Their defense
system. Because on day one, we sent in the B-2 stealth bombers. Those things, have a tiny, tiny radar cross-section, highly stealthy. They fly very high in the air. And they can go into very dangerous
and they're very
situations.
Expensive.
Horrendously expensive, about $2 to $3 billion a piece, and we've got about 20 of them. But that's what we sent in on the first wave of these strikes. And then after a couple of days, you saw us send in the B-1 bombers. And those are not stealthy, but they're super fast. And so we send in the B-1 bombers when Iran's anti-aircraft systems have been degraded significantly. Okay, we don't need the B-2s anymore. We can send in the B-1s. And now yesterday, the fact that we sent in B-52 bombers yesterday, which, by the way, big, slow. I mean, any sort of anti-aircraft radar will light up the minute it sees a B-52. There's no stealthiness whatsoever. But now we've sent them in, so what that signals is...
They have a large payload.
Well, they have a massive payload, but what's using them signals is Iran's air defense systems have been degraded so dramatically that we're not worried about them shooting down a B-52 right now. But that was kind of one of the big stories yesterday.
And here's Lindsey Graham talking about, he's confirming that there's massive new attacks on Iran, and they're imminent.
So I've never felt better about how this ends. It's not if they fall, it's when they fall. It's not us alone, it's us with the region. Europe is now getting into the game. So I want to compliment President Trump for starting something that the world is now gravitating to. This regime is in its death throes. The amount of firepower coming in the next day or two from us is going to be overwhelming. And when you add to the mix the Arab capability, then it's going to be overwhelming. The demise of this regime is at hand, and the goal is to make sure they can never be a threat like they were before.
Seems like every time Lindsey Graham gets behind a microphone, he's beating the drum of war. He's literally frothing at the mouth for more bombing. And now you've got Representative Tim Burchett, and he was roasting Lindsey Graham because at one point, Lindsey Graham was calling on the U.S. to start bombing Lebanon, another country
Yeah, and that's
because
because
of Hezbollah.
Yeah, Hezbollah, used their areas in Lebanon to attack Israel, and so Lindsey Graham is, asking the United States getting into that. Now the Israeli military has counterattacked into Lebanon and Hezbollah buildings there, but Lindsey Graham never met a war he didn't like. I mean, he's always for these and 100% gung-ho, and it's a little creepy, to be honest.
Yeah, and here's Representative Tim Burchett talking about that.
I'll get you next, ma'am. Go ahead, brother.
Senator Lindsey Graham is now calling for the U.S. to start bombing Lebanon in response to the Hezbollah IDF action.
Lindsey hadn't seen a fist fight he hasn't wanted to turn into a bombing, right? So I just take it with a grain of salt, dude.
Yep.
Yes, ma'am.
So is he going to be taking this with a grain of salt, though? Because now you have Lindsey Graham saying that Donald Trump will target Cuba next after joint U.S. and Israeli airstrikes on Iran. So he's already looking at what's next. Check this out.
President Trump finished the job that President Reagan failed to do. I am a big admirer of Ronald Reagan, but I'm here to tell you that Donald Trump, in my opinion, is the gold standard for Republicans, maybe any president, and when it comes to foreign policy. Maduro, everybody talked about him. Well, Donald Trump's got him in jail. Cuba's next. They're going to fall. This communist dictatorship in Cuba, their days are numbered. The Iranian regime, the mothership of international terrorism, is about to collapse. The captain of the ship, the Ayatollah, is stone cold dead.
He's such a bragger. Why would you go in front of a microphone and say that, for one?
Well, because he wants to make it all about him. He wants to make this all about Lindsey Graham as much as he can.
He wants you to think what? He's got the information?
I think he just likes to help people think that he has massive influence as it relates to Donald Trump. And in some ways, Lindsey Graham isn't wrong. I mean, it was interesting that he mentioned Cuba. We woke up this morning and we found out that the U.S. military took action along with the country of Ecuador inside some terrorist organizations in Ecuador. But Lindsey Graham having what just comes across as such a lust for war is part of the problem.
It does
come across that way, and that's part of the one of the reasons why, as of right now, only 25% of the American people are in support of the action that we're taking in Iran. And a lot of that has to go back to the messaging that's coming from Republicans and this administration. And Lindsey Graham is a big part of that problem.
You're listening to 93 WIBC. Coming up, we've got the best audio of the day.
Coming up on Tony Katz today, Secretary Hegseth says the U.S. is winning decisively. Same can't be said for Jasmine Crockett. That's after the news at noon on 93 WIBC.
You know exactly why you need to remodel that kitchen of yours. The space, it's outdated. You can't move around like you used to. It doesn't work like it needs to. You want to entertain and you want to improve your quality of life. This can happen, just not with the kitchen you have. You need to call Boer Remodeling, BOOHER, BoerRemodeling.com. They could take that old kitchen that's deteriorating and broken down and turn it into something that works for you and your family. Their 5-step design process from start to finish, the consultation, the preliminary design, the design development, getting all the documents together, and then getting it done. The best materials, the most skilled craftsmen in Central Indiana. Boer Remodeling will guide you through the entire process, starting with the free initial consultation, and they stand behind their work with a 2-year workmanship guarantee. Create that new kitchen. Design experts can use an existing layout or begin completely from scratch. Talk to Boer Remodeling today. BOOHER, BoerRemodeling.com. That's BoerRemodeling.com.
When you've got a tough to-do list to tackle, you need the right equipment to keep you moving forward. At Koenig Equipment, we're making it easy with our ready-to-go John Deere tractor packages. Get the tools you need for mowing, lifting, hauling, and more. One comprehensive package at one straightforward payment. Powerful, simple, built for jobs that need doing. When your land is counting on you, you can count on Koenig.
If you owe back taxes, listen carefully to rule number 1. Never go up against the IRS alone. They're cracking down, freezing bank accounts, garnishing paychecks, canceling passports. Even your home or business could be at risk. But here's what they don't tell you. The IRS has powerful tax relief programs that could save you thousands if you qualify. That's why smart people call Optima Tax Relief, America's #1 tax resolution firm. Nobody knows these programs like the experts at Optima. Their team of tax attorneys and licensed professionals have resolved over $2 billion in tax debt for people just like you. The IRS is not stopping, so don't wait and don't take them on alone. For tax help you need, for tax help you can trust, call Optima today for a free consultation.
Call 800-598-4799. 800-598-4799. 800-598-4799.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Harv, we need to get down. Hey, nip it, you dumb bunny. I'm talking about goose down for my jacket. I wish we could see some geese out here. Well, why? Because we need to get back in time to the state's largest gun show this weekend. Harv, I gotta get a goose before we go. That's not what I mean, you perverted furball. Now, the reason we haven't gotten any geese is because all this old hunting gear. As soon as we get back, we're going to the Indy 1500 Gun and Knife Show out at the fairgrounds. We're getting new everything. Camo, guns, knives, ammo, survival gear, even a GPS. What's that, Harv? Are there any deer gear dealers at the show that will give you advice? Well, sure. What? No, it's not called Deer Abbey, you idiot. Look here comes some now. Well, what do you know? Harv got 1 out of 5. Guess you could say his flight plan was canceled by air traffic control.
Celebrity voice imaginary character impersonated. The Indy 1500 Gun, Knife, and Outdoor Show this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at the State Fairgrounds.
I was ordering food from our usual place for the big meeting. My VP said, "Please, God, no."
For workplaces suffering with corporate catering deficiency, every day's a struggle.
The food was always meh and over budget. Before Easy Cater, I thought that was normal.
Easy Cater is designed to treat CCD with a huge variety of restaurants, help meet dietary needs, and stay on budget. Use daily. One platform lets you save time and thrive. Ask your web browser about Easy Cater or start an order at easycater.com.
Meet Drexel Interior's new cabinet line, Drexel Select. Premium cabinets with multiple colors and free in-store design. Get yours in just 5 days. Visit DrexelIN.com to upgrade your home today.
Win your way into Yacht Rock Review. Enter now at WIBC.com for your chance to score a pair of tickets to see them live Saturday, September 12th at Ruoff Music Center. Don't miss the smoothest night of the summer. Enter at WIBC.com for your shot at tickets.
Uh-huh. Yes. I feel like lifting up a baby lion right now.
How many times did we watch this movie when our daughter was little?
Oh,
It was on like a loop
lot.
constantly.
The answer to that would be a lot.
Yeah.
It's often said that women are more into the lyrics of a song and that men are more into the beat.
And the actual musical
Yeah.
part of the song.
I tend to go the other way.
Well, do you want me
I
to
must be the anomaly in that.
do you want me to be the person that proves that right now?
Sure.
I'm going to admit something.
What?
I didn't know those were lyrics in the.
You
I
just
just thought that was chanting like the opening thing segment of Survivor.
Mhm.
They've just got some random chanting that happens behind the music. I didn't realize that was actually another language they were speaking in the Lion King song.
So this coming from a podcast, and the podcast was called Open 54 Africa, and they were talking about this, and it made their rounds on social media. Here's my nomination for Best Audio of the Day.
I can do it. Do it. So Ready? you sing it like Nanzingonya Magiti Baba.
You were way off.
Ingonya Ma.
All right. What does it mean?
It means, look, there's a lion. Oh my God.
You're joking. That is not what that means. That is not what that means.
That's exactly what it means.
That's what it means. Look, there's a lion.
Oh
Oh my God.
It's a
Look, there's a lion. Oh my God.
It's a lion.
This whole time, I thought it was like this beautiful, majestic. Look here, there's a bull. Lion.
So their guest was from Zimbabwe, part of South Africa, and he was translating the actual lyrics. Here comes a lion. Oh my God. Some people are saying that it also means here comes a lion father, here comes our king. But regardless, yes, there are actual lyrics to that.
And apparently,
Since 1994,
once they're
had no idea.
no idea that that's what it meant. Okay, so when I hear that song now,
Mhm.
what I think of. So if you've been to a big sporting event the last 5 or 10 years, you probably are familiar with the Kiss Cam that they do. Well, now a lot of the sporting events, and we saw this at Lucas Oil Stadium not too long ago. They do the Simba Cam or the Lion King Cam, where they play that song, and then if you've got a small child or your baby with you, you're supposed to lift them up like they do with
So now
Simba,
that's what
like
you
Simba
think
in the
of.
movie. So now that I always think of the Simba Cam now when I hear the Lion King song.
So are we putting just way too much into what it means and just sit back and enjoy it?
Yeah, I was better off not knowing that. Now I look down upon the song more that the lyrics are so ultra simple and basic.
It's art. Just let it wash over you. It may not be about the literal meaning, but more about how it makes you
Sounds good.
feel. Okay, so up next, former FBI Special Agent Corey Grass, and we're going to talk about the situation in Iran and what you can do for your personal safety. It is Casey and Jim. It's 93 WIBC.
Recalculating route. Estimated arrival time. Never.
For people with nasal congestion, snoring, or sleep apnea, finding a solution feels like a never-ending road trip.
First stop, my primary doctor. Then the pharmacy. Then a sleep specialist. Then an ENT.
What if there was just one destination for all your problems?
Welcome to Advent, your one-stop solution for nasal congestion, snoring, and sleep apnea for over 20 years. Unlike many other practices, we focus exclusively on these conditions, so you get comprehensive care in one location. Over 95% of patients with severe nasal breathing issues report improvement. Plus, most insurance is accepted for our effective 20-minute in-office treatments.
You have arrived at Clear Breathing.
Spring is fast approaching and a great time for a new Lincoln at Tom Roush Lincoln in Fishers. 0% financing is back. That's right, 0% for 48 months on new Corsair, Nautilus, and Aviator. Plus 0% for 36 months on new Navigator. With these rates, it's absolutely the best time to buy. Be sure to check them all out at Tom Roush Lincoln in Fishers. Our family serving yours since 1972.
0% APR for 48 months on 2026 Lincoln Corsair, Nautilus, and Aviator. 0% APR for 36 months on 2025 Lincoln Navigator. Subject to credit approval. Offers end 3/31/26. See dealer for complete offer details.
Pella of Indianapolis provides window and door replacement with products you can trust. For a limited time, call 833-87-PELLA or visit PellaIndy.com/radio and get 24% off Pella products. Restrictions apply. See site for details.
You ever wonder why Verizon charges twice as much as Pure Talk for the same basic service? Think it might have something to do with the fact that Verizon spends $12 billion a year on advertising and promotion? That's billion with a B? Yeah. Pure Talk doesn't spend that kind of money on commercials. That's why they can offer unlimited talk, text, and plenty of data on a blazing fast 5G network for just $25 a month. Save an additional 50% off your first month when you dial pound 250 and say the words Mike Rowe. That's pound 250. Mike Rowe.
This season, get Express Pro Tire and Auto's Refresh Your Ride package for just $69.99. Includes a synthetic blend oil change, tire rotation, brake inspection, and more. Some restrictions apply. See details at xpressspro.com.
Express Pro Tire and
Upgrade your flooring with Drexel Interiors. Shop pet-friendly carpet and luxury vinyl plank on sale now. Plus, get 12 months interest-free financing. Visit their Indianapolis or Carmel showrooms or drexelin.com.
Were you born from 1945 to 1965? Have you heard of hepatitis C? Hepatitis C is a leading cause of liver cancer, yet it often has no symptoms. And people born from 1945 to 1965 are 5 times more likely to have it. But here's some good news. Treatments are now available that can cure hepatitis C, which is why you should talk with your doctor about getting a blood test for hepatitis C. It could save your life. A message from the CDC.
You let him try violin because you love him. And if you love him that much, love him enough to make sure he's buckled up and in the back seat. Find out more at nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Coming up in 2 minutes from the Dugan Air Heating and Cooling Mitsubishi Electric Studios, a lot of rain Tuesday evening, but more of it is on the way for tonight. The former mayor of Indianapolis is officially going after another office, a ruling from the state Supreme Court on the sentencing in a 2023 murder case, and how one Indianapolis counselor is viewing the possible AES accusation. You're listening to 93 WIBC, WIBC HD1 Indianapolis. It's 11 o'clock.
Democrats are trying to stop President Trump in Iran. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News, pushing a war powers resolution today in the Senate trying to limit the operation. Minority Leader Chuck Schumer says the president is using
America's sons and daughters as pawns in his endless war. That's the way it is.
But House Speaker Mike Johnson just said that resolution to limit the U.S. would be terrible and dangerous, that the president is acting lawfully to take out Iran's nuclear threat.
Because we all know why they were enriching uranium, and it had nothing to do with medical devices and energy supply. It was to kill their enemies, and the U.S. was at the top of the list with Israel.
And on day 5 of the operation,
we are accelerating, not decelerating. Iran's capabilities are evaporating by the hour.
War Secretary Pete Hegseth says Iran's air forces know more. As for its navy,
combat ineffective, decimated, destroyed, defeated, pick your adjective.
And he detailed one of the U.S. attacks.
An American submarine sunk an Iranian warship that thought it was safe in international waters.
And that, Hegseth adds, is
the first sinking of an enemy ship by a torpedo since World War II.
But Iran is still threatening to destroy the military and economic infrastructure across the region, firing more missiles into Israel. Another aimed at Turkey was shot down. Fox's Jillian Turner reports from the State Department.
There are more than a dozen American embassies in the Middle East that have been closed physically because of the threat from Iranian militias. But now what we are seeing develop, worrying sign for the first time, is that they are actually, some of them, starting to seize operations altogether, even remotely.
Which could make it tougher on Americans told to leave the region but can't with thousands of flights canceled. Cuba has just filed terrorism charges against 6 people who were on a boat from Florida last week that Cuba says tried to infiltrate the island, opening fire on soldiers who fired back, killing 4 others on that boat. The U.S. is also investigating, not taking Cuba's word for what happened. America's listening to Fox News.
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
A break for the moment. It's cloudy. 47 in downtown Indy. Today's high will be in the mid-50s. We might get to 58. I'm Jarrett Lewis. This report is brought to you by Window Nation at 11:02. A lull in the rain at the moment before it picks back up late this afternoon. A couple more inches will be possible into the overnight.
We do expect some more rain to move through the area late today and into tonight. Potentially some additional thunderstorms as well. Could see a strong to severe storm primarily further south than the metro.
And that could lead to more flooding. Forecaster Joe Neild from the National Weather Service in Indianapolis says these storms may produce hail, damaging winds. A flood warning is in effect still for Buck Creek at Acton. That will last until tomorrow morning. The former mayor of Indianapolis is coming out of political retirement.
I thought my career in public service had ended. But when you see something this broken and know you can fix it, you step forward. That's why today I'm announcing that I'm running for Indiana Secretary of State, and I'm doing it as an independent.
That's Greg Ballard in a video posted to social media this morning. Ballard was Indianapolis mayor from 2008 to 2015. He enters a field shooting for Secretary of State with Republican incumbent Diego Morales and Democratic challenger Bo Bai. John Taylor is from Indiana originally, but he lives in Dubai. John Herrick reports on how the conflict in the Middle East is affecting him.
Taylor's in Las Vegas on business, and he's supposed to fly back to Dubai on Thursday. His apartment is near where the attacks happened. His wife is sheltering in place after hearing explosions over the weekend. Taylor tells Wish TV.
My wife's been a trooper, frankly. She's not been real concerned. Her biggest concern was making sure she had enough food because they told us to shelter in place, but she told me she had a month's worth of food, so she wasn't really concerned.
Taylor has worked in the Middle East since 1984.
Tourism drives Dubai, so they want to get things fixed just as quick as possible.
He says they have an impressive labor force to make that happen. John Herrick, 93 WIBC Mobile News.
The Indiana Supreme Court unanimously affirmed Anthony Wayne Carter's life sentence recently, rejecting his claim that the 2023 slaying of his girlfriend Ashley Neville was an accident. Carter remains incarcerated, serving his sentence without the possibility of parole. AES operations won't change in this potential deal with BlackRock. That's according to Indianapolis City County Council member Michael Paul Hart. However, a rate change for Hoosiers is part of his worries.
That it's a private utility. It's
It's here to provide electricity for the people that live here, work here, and businesses that are here. And then changing it to a for-profit model, the instinct of people is that, well, then you're just going to use me to profit off of.
Councilor Hart, a guest on the Hammer and Nigel show on WIBC Tuesday. The deal puts AES at a total equity value of $10.7 billion. And the Indiana Pacers begin a West Coast swing this evening against the LA Clippers. They have not won a game since returning from the All-Star break. I'm Jarrett Lewis on The Level, on the go, and at WIBC.com.
Spring is right around the corner, and we bet you're excited for warmer weather, but as temperatures rise, make sure that your energy bills don't. Keep those cooling costs low with Window Nation's high-quality, energy-efficient products. Simply request a consultation where their experts will visit your home, spot problem areas, and make recommendations. Your customized windows can be installed in a day. Once completed, your home will be shielded from outside hot air while you remain cool and comfortable inside throughout the spring and summer.
There's no better time to upgrade your home with Window Nation. In March, the more you buy, the more savings you could enjoy. Up to 50% off all window styles. And be sure to ask about Window Nation's generous financing options, including $0 down, payments as little as $199 a month. Visit windownation.com. Get that free consultation today. That's windownation.com.
Based on everything that is happening in Iran right now, I thought it might be pertinent to get the opinion of an expert. So we turn to former FBI Special Agent Corey Grass, who spent 20 years in the service and a lot of his time in counterterrorism, also counterintelligence. 15 out of the 20 years spent doing some hostage negotiations. So, Corey, let's start right off in asking, what kind of threats should Americans realistically be paying attention to, and what's just noise?
Well, good morning, and thanks for having me. Realistically, I would say the biggest threat we face in the homeland is sleeper cells that have made it here previously prior to being detected and before the recent events overseas. That's always a concern, but I think with as many people that have come into the country in the recent years, it's probably more so now than it was previously. The good answer to that, a good part of that is information's been gathered by federal agencies, state and local agencies for a very long time. Some of that wasn't pressing matter at the time it was collected, so I'm sure all that information is being analyzed again and distributed appropriately. So I think here in the homeland, the most important thing would be sleeper cells. Most of these countries or other places can't reach us physically without doing something like that here on a smaller scale, which is very impressive that our country has not had a major attack since 9/11. I mean, there's been plenty of issues, but no major attacks since 9/11, which says a lot about how the government has reacted and how they've shared information with the state, local. So overseas, I think protecting Americans is a little tougher. I think the State Department does a great job of sharing information also with people that are living abroad. The biggest threat probably, as we've seen recently right after the issues in Iran, were the military bases being attacked kind of randomly. So those are a little tougher to defend, I would say. But here locally in Indiana and the homeland, sleeper cell attacks will probably be the most relevant or pressing issues.
Hey, Corey, talk a little bit about lone wolves. We saw that guy in Austin, the shooting in Austin over the weekend that killed several people. He was wearing some clothing that seemed to support Iran. What can be done about lone wolves?
Lone wolves are tough. I mean, the way most crime or national security issues are addressed is through catching people sharing information with them amongst themselves, radicalized people, constantly saying things online that draw attention to themselves, or the way they communicate information from overseas to someone here to direct them on how to do the attack allows the government a chance to collect that information and react to it and prevent the attacks. Lone wolves are tough because it is such a small one man, or maybe they're getting information from a terrorist organization overseas. It's really tough to counter that if the information is not being transmitted electronically or over telephones or even in person, something in writing. So the sleeper cells and the lone wolves are really, really tough to address. It's a very challenging environment when you're trying to prevent somebody from doing something that you don't know when it's coming or what it's going to be.
We've got Corey Grass joining us. He's a former FBI special agent, spent 20 years in the service, 15 of it involved in counterterrorism and counterintelligence. So Iran has a history of using proxies and cyber attacks. What does that actually mean for everyday Americans? Is there something that plays out overseas, or is that a potential to hit closer to home?
It could be both, I suppose, but overseas, it seems to be happening more often, or historically it has. Whether it's the Houthi rebels, Hezbollah, Hamas, whoever they're directing to do their dirty work for them and apparently funding it and giving those orders. It seems like it's been going on for decades. I personally haven't seen that kind of stuff happening in the States or here locally or abroad, or continentally in the United States. So I don't. On the homeland, I don't think it's as big a threat. Obviously, one incident is terrible. We want to prevent every single one we can. But again, the historical information for the last couple of decades, we've not seen those kind of things here in the homeland, which is a great thing.
Hey, Corey, so what can the average everyday Hoosier do? Or is there anything they should do to kind of just be more alert? Or what kind of advice would you give people?
My biggest advice is people tend to see this information. It seems very scary. It seems like it affects us every single day when it really doesn't. And that's part of the whole issue with terrorism, or with the issues that these countries try to do to inflict damage, both emotionally and physically. So my best advice is go about your normal daily life, enjoy the freedoms we have, enjoy the opportunities we have. However, if you see something or hear something that seems suspicious, or raises a hair on your neck, you just think doesn't seem right, don't hesitate to reach out to either local or federal law enforcement and just share that information. Your name will not be shared with anybody that you'd be concerned about, and it just allows the data points to be collected, aggressively. And what the last thing you want to see is something you thought seemed off, and it turns out to be true, and you could have done something to help prevent it. So, again, my biggest takeaway is don't live in fear, and don't let these events, change the way you're living. Continue to live in our great life we have in America, but also don't hesitate to point something out or bring up something that seems off to you. Again, I'm guessing the shooter in Austin, there were probably some bullet points that people look at now and say, I wish I'd said something about the clothing, the constant radical statements, him collecting weapons. There had to have been things that could have been picked up on along the way where he was radicalized or sharing that information. Those people that commit atrocious acts like that, it's not a one-off. They've built themselves up a ramp to get to that stage where people could have seen, again, constant radical statements or travel overseas constantly, or somebody said, that seems weird. He doesn't have the means for that, or he doesn't have business overseas. There had to have been, collection points that somebody could have shared that would have helped prevent those kind of things.
Corey Grass is joining us, former FBI special agent. Now, we've seen Americans detained abroad in the past, and we know that when tensions arise, the risk of hostage situations increases. Right now, the State Department is trying to get most Americans out of the Middle East, but we have seen people who were traveling abroad in Abu Dhabi and areas like that. What patterns do we look for? What are the likelihood of a potential hostage situation occurring again?
Unfortunately, I would say the potential is high. I mean, that is a great way to inflict damage on the United States and the image of the United States. It's very emotional whenever you kidnap someone. We actually had a young man from Indianapolis kidnapped probably 12 or 15 years ago now by ISIS, before ISIS really had a name. During that process, they became known as ISIS, became very violent. So I have personal experience for many, many months of negotiating overseas through foreign legal attachés with the FBI, and it's a very, very stressful, emotional way to handle business, and that's exactly why they do those kind of things. So I have a ton of respect for the State Department giving that advice and trying to get people to safe places, at least make them informed of the situations that they could face.
Corey Grass, former FBI special agent. We're going to take a break. I've got a few more questions with you if you don't mind sticking around. We want to talk about how to keep our city safe and also some personal safety tips for individuals. Is that cool? Can you stick with us?
Sure. Sounds great.
Yeah, you're listening to Casey and Jim. It is 93 WIBC.
Let's begin. Let's talk about your relationship.
I can't stand all these wild swings, Doc. It's driving me crazy. It's hot, it's cold.
How does that make you feel?
Oh, I'm so confused. I can't figure out how to act, what to wear.
Listen up, Buttercup. You're in Indiana. This is the way it is. Just listen to WIBC.
Are the weather swings about to put you in therapy? Save yourself the copay and listen to WIBC for updates, because it could change in the next 10 minutes.
Shall we schedule something next week?
Your winter therapy station, 93 WIBC.
Hey, John, why so glum? I just got let go. The company's downsizing. This is the third time in the last 2 years. I'm done with this. Have you thought about My Computer Career? I've heard they can train you for a career in IT in just a few months, including cybersecurity and the basics of AI. And you don't need prior training or experience. Now that's a recession-resistant career. Wow, thanks. I'll check them out.
Go to mycomputercareer.edu and take the free career evaluation. mycomputercareer.edu, an Elite CompTIA certification partner. Financial aid is available to those who qualify, including VA benefits.
Were you born from 1945 to 1965? People born during these years are 5 times more likely to have hepatitis C, but most people don't know they are infected. So even if you try to eat right, exercise, and take care of yourself, you can still have hepatitis C, a serious liver disease that often has no symptoms. In fact, people can live with hepatitis C for decades without feeling or looking sick. But over time, hepatitis C can cause serious health problems, including liver damage, liver failure, or even liver cancer. Getting tested is the only way to know if you're infected with hepatitis C. That's why the CDC recommends everyone born from 1945 to 1965 get a blood test for hepatitis C. Treatments are available that can cure this disease. So talk to your doctor about getting tested. It could save your life. A message from the CDC.
Texting enrolls you in a recurring automated marketing text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
The team's looking good this season.
I think so. Man, I miss playing football. Ever since I turned 40, I just can't find that fire I used to have.
Think it could be lower testosterone?
What do you mean?
I was feeling the same way. After 40, the body has less testosterone, and men lose their edge. That's why I take Nugenix Total T2.
That's the testosterone booster, right?
Yes, but Total T2 is their brand new formula that skyrockets nitric oxide levels in as little as 3 hours. Since I started taking it, I've been lifting like when we played for Coach Carter. My energy is way up, and it even spiced up things between me and the missus.
Are they still giving out complimentary bottles?
Yep, just send a text.
Text RULE to 215215 for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T2, the next generation testosterone booster. Text now and we'll include a bottle of Nugenix Thermo X, our newest, most powerful fat burner ever, absolutely free. Text RULE to 215215. That's RULE to 215215.
These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Meet Drexel Interior's new cabinet line, Drexel Select. Premium cabinets with multiple colors and free in-store design. Get yours in just 5 days. Visit DrexelIN.com to upgrade your home today.
Did you ever ride your bike with a clothespin and a baseball card? Or use a typewriter for a school paper? Then here's a timely alert. Americans born from 1945 to 1965 are 5 times more likely to have hepatitis C, which often has no symptoms, but is a leading cause of liver cancer. The good news? Treatments are available that can cure hepatitis C. Talk with your doctor about getting a blood test for hepatitis C. Know for sure. A message from the CDC.
We've talked about things internationally, what's going on in the Middle East with Iran, Operation Epic Fury, but we have former FBI Special Agent Corey Grass joining us. He spent 20 years in the service, 15 of those years related to counterterrorism and counterintelligence. He also worked for many years with hostage negotiations. It is Casey and Jim you're listening to on 93 WIBC. Corey, I wanted to bring this back domestically and talk about how to keep our city safe on the homeland, because as we know, tensions arise internationally. What should local police and city leaders actually be doing without creating panic?
Well, I think they traditionally have done it already. It's a layered approach. You know, it's a team effort in keeping people safe here at home. There's no one method or group that can solve issues like that. So I was thinking earlier today, a great analogy is like a sporting event in Indianapolis. Whenever you come to that event as a spectator, you probably don't pay attention to it, but you're being parked outside by a security company that has radios and phones and eyes and ears to kind of keep an eye on what's going on outside. Whenever you decide to enter the event, You probably have another agency that's running metal detectors and watching people to try and see what's going on as you come inside. When you get inside the venue, you'll see uniformed police officers from multiple agencies and different groups, and you see that as a visual that helps deter things, but also there to prevent crime also and attacks. But what you don't see then is the next layer of plainclothes police officers or the federal agencies working in the Joint Operations Center at the special event. You know, the FBI as part of the Joint Terrorism Task Force, the Indiana State Police. You have just layers upon layers of stuff you see and don't see to help keep you safe. And I would say the city of Indianapolis is kind of the same. I mean, there's multiple levels and layers and different groups working their jobs to keep it safe at a wonderful level, might I add.
So what you're saying, it sounds like it's a combination of intelligence, community trust, infrastructure, and local law enforcement.
Oh, for sure. And again, to take it back overseas just a little bit, I've been watching the news on this stuff in Iran. And human intelligence is so important. And I say that from a biased point of view because I worked it for years. I've recruited sources to be on Team USA and share information from street-level gangs all the way up to national security events. And the Ayatollah being taken out by the U.S. military involved, a lot of sophisticated techniques, a lot of, technology and things like that. But also, without the human intelligence side, telling people on our side, sharing that information very secretly and very privately, what was going on and where it was going on, that's not possible to do. So they took out the Ayatollah, and then from what I'm seeing and reading, there was a meeting that was planned after that to try and replace the Ayatollah, and suddenly the U.S. military attacked that venue, potentially attacked the meeting, but that information had to have come from human beings because it was very quickly taking place over there. And what a devastating blow to them that they can't even plan a meeting within a couple of days without us having eyes and ears on it and taking care of that. So kind of the same thing here locally. Information sharing, human intelligence is key. And again, I'm biased from that point of view, but it's impossible to learn about how terrorist events take place, what the motivation behind it would be, when, where, why, and how, without somebody on the inside at least sharing the inside. It may be bits and pieces. You may not hear everything from one person, but the way the government shares information on these task forces is wonderful. So if a state trooper hears something on a traffic stop and they share that with the Joint Terrorism Task Force, and the FBI agent in Miami, Florida has information about something, and they're able to piece that together, that's how we prevent bad things from happening.
Hey, Corey, so I think when we think about, terrorism here in the United States and being concerned about, lone wolves or any other situation like that, I know a lot of us probably think back to just after 9/11, and we had, that color-coded system, and we were on yellow alert or orange alert or green alert. How does that compare to today? Because that's really the only memory that I have of this. How concerned should people be, and how does this compare to in that time right after 9/11?
Well, the color coding scale sometimes changes, different threat levels. I think even internally sometimes we have a hard time keeping track of what these different things mean. Again, if something doesn't feel right, doesn't seem right, doesn't smell right, or something that you see that doesn't make sense, just say something about it. There's no need to make it too complicated. And the response is the same thing. I mean, obviously, if someone calls and says, I have concerns about this person down the street who's doing these certain things, the response will be at that same level, which is potentially just asking some neighbors, hey, what have you seen? Or go and knock on the door and say, hey, sorry to bother you. I had some quick questions for you. But I don't know if there's any reason to get too complicated. The fact that the issues in Iran, the current upscaling of it recently has necessarily changed anything in the last couple of days in the United States. We did have the Austin attack, which, again, I don't know if that's related to this necessarily, but so far so good. And I think as long as we keep our guard up and continue doing what we're doing, we're actually in a great place right now.
Okay, so it's Corey Grass who's joining us, former FBI special agent, spent 20 years in counterintelligence and counterterrorism. And you brought up a good point. I want to ask you about personal safety for individuals, for Hoosiers, for the average person. What are some practical steps to stay safe during these times without becoming paranoid?
I mention this to my wife often. Common sense approaches is when you're walking in public, keep your head up, look at people. Don't make yourself a victim. Don't look down at the ground. Don't be too passive. Don't look timid. And then, again, common sense things are, staying well lit areas if you're not comfortable. If you feel the need to arm yourself, be proficient in that. Talk to Guy Rolford and get some training and get some information. Be very comfortable. Don't be armed if you're not comfortable. I think that's a terrible thing as well. Just to have a gun is a terrible thing if you're not comfortable in using it, not confident in how it works and what you would do with it. But again, common sense stuff of stay with people you trust, stay in well-lit areas, travel to places you know they're comfortable with. If you're not comfortable at a certain place in a certain time, don't go there. If it doesn't feel right to you, then don't make yourself do something that doesn't feel right. And if you're going to exercise, stay in certain places. Don't go on dark trails in the middle of the night by yourself necessarily if you're not comfortable defending yourself or if you think there's bad things that potentially happen in those areas. So a lot of common sense. Don't be shy. Don't be timid, and don't make yourself a victim. Just stay confident and aware of your surroundings always.
These seem like these are just obvious things that you should do all of the time, not just when Epic Fury is happening. Are there common mistakes that people make when they think they're safe, but they're really not?
Again, the common mistake to me is just making yourself a victim by not paying attention, not saying something, and not keeping your head up and being on a swivel and being alert. I myself have been in situations where something just didn't feel right, either at work or outside of work. Something just didn't feel right, and I didn't put myself in that situation. I backed out. It could be, the interview can be done later. If I knock on the door and I'm by myself for an interview, and which is not ideal most times, and I don't feel comfortable going inside there, I'll just reschedule the interview. I'll wait till someone can go with me, or I'll bring that person out to an interview at a coffee shop or somewhere different. So you're in control of your destiny. You have total control over your safety, and there's plenty of ways to maximize that safety and keep yourself in a good spot.
Part of that sounds like it's like follow your gut. Corey Grass is joining us. How important is digital awareness right now?
I don't know if I can say high enough. I mean, particularly with the crimes against children issues, that's not what we're talking about today, but there's so many online issues. When I was recruiting for the FBI, I'd always tell prospective applicants when they'd ask what they should study, anything involving cyber, because every single violation in the FBI, or most violations, involve some sort of cyber issue. Obviously, cyber crimes, but terrorism. They communicate via the internet or via the apps or the chats or the whatever. Financial crimes take place over the internet. Everything seems to touch a computer, a device of some sort. So it's being aware. Again, it's almost the same as when you're on the street. If you get an email, a text, or whatever that doesn't feel right, don't open it, don't respond to it. And in fact, the FBI has a tip line that you can send those kind of things to, that they can kind of collate those. There's so many of them that they can't respond to anywhere near all of the events, but they can collate those. And if they get enough scam victims of this one certain group, this one certain type, then maybe they can put together the resources to go and address that issue, whether it's an overseas, money scam or online child predator scam. The child stuff is so prevalent right now. It seems to be, in my opinion, I haven't worked it in years, but it seems to just be overwhelming at this point.
Yeah. Corey Grass, we really appreciate your insight. Former FBI special agent, 20 years in the service. Thank you for that. Thank you for joining us today. Where can people find more information about you?
Probably the easiest place is on Facebook. I just use my real name, Corey, Cory, and the last name is Grass, like you mow. Or I do have a consulting company called Apex Solutions Group, and we can be found at apexdefend.com, apexdefend.com.
Do you have a license plate that says Grassman?
You're actually very close. It does have my family numbers on it and my name, yes.
We appreciate you. Thank you so much. You did so excellent. We might have to have you back every single week, so prepare yourself.
I would love it. I would appreciate it and love it.
Thank you.
I miss Jim too much. I need to talk to him every week.
I love it, man. Let's do it.
You're listening.
You let me know. I'll pencil you in.
Okay, you're listening to 93 WIBC.
Wesley is a truck driver.
I drive a truck, and I love what I do.
A truck driver with IRS troubles.
They told me I owed them $43,000.
It got really bad.
Quite a few letters in the mail. They were talking about wage garnishment, coming after my house, my car. Yeah, they don't play around. I seriously thought that I was going to lose everything.
One sleepless night, Wesley finally made a call to Optima Tax Relief at 2 a.m.
Kind of figured I'd get a machine, but I didn't. I actually got to talk to an actual person in the middle of the night.
He found just what he was looking for.
Oh, they were great people. You need a team of people that know what they're doing. Optima Tax, they know what they're doing.
Optima Tax Relief came through with flying colors.
I saved an incredible amount of money. Happy don't even come close. I was absolutely overjoyed.
Take Wesley's advice.
If you're in any kind of trouble with the IRS, call Optima Tax Relief. Don't trust anybody else.
Call Optima for a free consultation. Call 800-598-4799. 800-598-4799. 800-598-4799.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Guy Relford here. Time again for the Indy 1500 Gun and Knife Show this coming weekend at the State Fairgrounds, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. There's never been a more important time to exercise our rights as true Americans. It's the Indy 1500 Gun and Knife Show. See the best in sporting, hunting, and personal protection gear, plus great displays of Americana. Come see us this weekend at the Indy 1500 Gun and Knife Show, Friday 2 to 7, Saturday 9 to 6, and Sunday 9 to 4. It's the Indy 1500 Gun and Knife Show. See you there.
When you've got a tough to-do list to tackle, you need the right equipment to keep you moving forward. At Koenig Equipment, we're making it easy with our ready-to-go John Deere tractor packages. Get the tools you need for mowing, lifting, hauling, and more. One comprehensive package at one straightforward payment. Powerful, simple, built for jobs that need doing. When your land is counting on you, you can count on Koenig.
I work here.
I work here.
I work here. I work here.
I work here.
I work here.
We all work here at Radio 1 Indianapolis, one of the most diverse media groups in the world. We bring very different backgrounds and ideas together to create the best information and entertainment around. And right now, we're looking for someone to join the family. We have a rare opening for an integrated marketing specialist. If you're an experienced sales professional with a proven background, we want to talk to you. Apply now at radio1.com/careers. Bilingual preferred. Radio 1 is an equal opportunity employer.
Caring for someone nearing the end of life brings questions you may never feel ready to answer, like when is the right time to ask about hospice? How do you balance medical needs with honoring someone's final wishes? This is Tina McIntosh, founder of Joy's House and co-host of Caregiver Crossing. Hospice is more than care at the end of life. Stay tuned.
Cardon & Associates provides residents with the best senior living options and personalized service. Visit cardon.us to find a community near you.
Hospice teams provide medical support, yes, but they also provide guidance and counseling and comfort. Caregivers share how hospice gave them moments of peace they didn't see coming, sitting together, sharing stories, simply resting without fear. Hospice doesn't take your role away. It makes space for you to step back in your most important role as someone who loves someone who is dying. Caregiver Crossing brings honest conversations about hospice and many other parts of caregiving every Sunday morning. Or you can visit joyshouse.org for past episodes and resources. Created by Joy's House and distributed in partnership with Network Indiana.
Do you need furnace or heat pump service and need to find a local, well-trained expert you can trust like Family Heating and Air Conditioning? We'll find that American Standard air dealer at IndyHomeComfort.com.
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
There's another round of it. I'm Jarrett Lewis. Here's what's trending this hour. That after the record-breaking rain in Indianapolis on Tuesday.
Primarily concerned with a threat for isolated large hail, potentially some damaging wind. Can't entirely rule out brief tornado depending on where the warm front happens to be.
Forecaster Joe Neild from the National Weather Service in Indianapolis. The city got over 2.5 inches last night. Prosecutors say Randall Buchanan is now facing murder and arson charges after starting a fire inside a mobile home on Indy's west side last month. The blaze killed his girlfriend, Bonnie Arnold. Brownsburg schools agreeing to pay $650,000 to former music teacher John Klug, who resigned after objecting to a policy requiring staff to use a transgender student's preferred names and pronouns. And former Republican Indianapolis Mayor Greg Ballard is running for Indiana Secretary of State as an independent. I'm Jarrett Lewis on the level, on the go, and at WIBC.com.
In London, voices rose in Parliament. The question was no longer whether to punish Boston, but how hard.
WIBC celebrates the spirit of 76. Brought to you by the WIBC Daily Newsletter.
March 4th, 1774. Debate intensified in Parliament over how to respond to the Boston Tea Party. Hardliners pushed to close the city's port and make an example of defiance. Moderates warned the move would inflame the colonies. Within weeks, the Boston Port Act would pass, sealing the harbor and strangling trade. What began as debate would become punishment. And what was meant to isolate Boston would unite the colonies against Britain.
The spirit of 76. History remembered. Freedom celebrated. Have the latest headlines and show content delivered to your inbox daily. Sign up at WIBC.com.
When your team is spending more time worrying about how you look on camera instead of answering tough questions under oath, you kind of lost the plot, right? It does undercut confidence in the process. So a deposition, it's not a production shoot, it's a legal requirement, and people deserve straight answers, not stage visuals. It's being reported by the New York Post that Hillary Clinton's legal team asked for, quote, beauty lighting and specific camera angles to make her look more flattering during her closed-door deposition before the House Oversight Committee.
Now, Casey, I hate defending and being on the same side as Hillary Clinton, but I think I want you to speak for all women on this.
Oh, no, I can't do that.
Sure you can. Now, Hillary Clinton knows that the whole world is eventually going to see video of this as
she wants to put her best foot forward.
As a woman, if you were in her situation, wouldn't you make sure, you
looked as best as I could.
You got your hair did and you wear your best blue pantsuit and you'd probably want some favorable lighting.
Yeah. She brought in some white tablecloths to reflect the light, and she replaced the original black backdrop with a custom blue panel background. A lot of people online are pointing out that the blue suit that she wore during her testimony was the exact same color of blue in that infamous art piece of Bill Clinton in a blue dress.
Oh, yes. That was part of the Epstein files that we discovered. Yes.
She said that she wanted to avoid the impression of looking like a hostage, which, okay, I can understand that. She does want to look her best because she knows, as you mentioned, that this is going to go everywhere.
But agree, she does come off looking like a prima donna when you've got your negotiated lighting as part of your deposition to Congress.
I'll come in if you make me look good. Okay, how about you come in because it's the law?
Let's be honest.
And you need to answer some questions.
I don't care how much lighting you got. You're not going to make Hillary Clinton look good. We're talking about degrees of improvement here. So, but yeah, point made.
Apparently, Jeffrey Epstein said that she can actually be really pretty in person. So the focus should really be on transparency, on accountability, not on photo op prepping. Like, this isn't a photo shoot. This isn't for the cover of Vogue magazine. This is testimony in front of the House Oversight Committee.
Look, I get it. And the fact that she did that makes her an easy target for people to jump on.
Get a good night's sleep, take a shower, and put your best foot forward.
Yeah, but wouldn't you say most women, if they knew they were going to be on video and that video was going to be broadcast all over social media and television stations across the country, they'd want to do everything to look as good as they can.
You hear all the time about these musical acts who have their writer contracts, and yes, I'll come perform, but I want only green M&Ms. I want a bunch of bananas. I want a fifth of Jack Daniels in my green room.
Right, requirements.
Hillary Clinton is saying, I want good beauty lighting. Of course, her spokesperson has denied this, saying that the focus should be on the testimony. And the questionable reporting about the lighting details is false. Now, one thing I wanted to bring to your attention.
Please.
During the questioning of Bill Clinton, former President Bill Clinton, Nancy Mace asked him, why would Jeffrey Epstein say you like him young?
The witnesses who testified in the Epstein cases that Epstein said, you, quote, like them young. Why would Epstein say that about you?
Are you asking his opinion? You're asking him to think about why Mr. Epstein would say something about him?
Why would Epstein say that about the
president? So she's asking you to try to
Mm-hmm.
be in Mr. Epstein's mind and guess at what Mr. Epstein would have thought about.
Clinton likes them young, referring to girls.
First of all, that's not true.
What's not true?
That I have any interest in underage.
I didn't say underage. I said young.
But it's still not true.
Is an intern young?
Oh!
Yes.
Oh!
Ouch.
They had to know. They knew that the Republicans like Nancy Mace were going to come in hot, and boy, did she ever.
Yes, she did. I mean, there's dozens and dozens of pictures with him with young girls. I noticed he was shaking when he was drinking his coffee or water. Or
yeah, that was
he had in
actually
his coffee mug. I mean, he is getting older, but
and he was in
so
obviously
people are questioning if he has Parkinson's or if that is just age.
Well, he was in a pretty high stress situation,
Yes,
obviously,
that too.
as we heard that line of questioning there from Nancy Mace. So that can kind of give you the jitters as well. But we played some of the Hillary Clinton audio yesterday, and what a stark contrast between the two. You had these, Bill Clinton with these long pauses and these shaky answers and actually a literal shaking hand. Yet when we played the Hillary Clinton audio yesterday, she was pretty sharp and on the ball and was very well prepared. By the way, just in case, I just want you to know, if I ever find myself, I mean, highly unlikely, but ever find myself in jail or charged with a crime, I want Bill Clinton's lawyer. That woman has it together.
Yeah.
The entire
They're
testimony.
asking you to speculate what was in someone else's mind.
That was the other female voice that you heard there in that clip. Bill Clinton's attorney. That woman's a rock star. If I'm ever in trouble, I'm sure she's not cheap, but she's going to be the first phone call I make.
You can afford her. So Republican
I
members of
can't.
the House Oversight Committee, they're now pushing to expand their investigation, and they're wanting to include people like Bill Gates and Leon Black and others. And this coming after Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton were subpoenaed and gave deposition testimony. So now they're digging even deeper. And Bill Gates, will he show up? Or will he say he's got nothing to hide and that's fine? Will he ignore the subpoena? Will he drag his feet? If he does, that's only going to deepen the public's interest.
Look, I'm all for bringing them all in front of Congress, in front of this House Oversight Committee. We've talked about this a lot with the Epstein files. Nobody's going to prison. And again, a lot of these crimes look like they probably, unfortunately, would have passed the statute of limitations. Everything in these Epstein files, the vast majority of it, you speak to a legal expert, the vast majority of it is not admissible in court. It's all circumstantial or it's hearsay. So I just don't hold out hope that we're going to see anybody go to prison for this. So what do we have left? We got getting as much truth and transparency as we can out of these people and public shame and embarrassment. So I'm 100% all for Bill Gates, anybody else mentioned in those Epstein files in a gross way, get them in front of Congress and have them force them to answer these questions.
Yeah. So Bill Gates' ex-wife, he says that, yeah, he needs to go and answer questions.
Those questions are for those people and for even my ex-husband. They need to answer to those things, not me.
Well,
and I am so happy to be away from all the muck.
Yeah, I bet she is. So James Comer, he said that a subpoena of Bill Gates is highly likely if he refuses to cooperate in the Epstein probe. Now, you've got Howard Lutnick, the U.S. Secretary of Commerce.
Yep.
And he has agreed to appear before the House Oversight Committee. Now, you might remember he was saying that he and his wife and their children got on their boat and they went over for lunch. And this was after Epstein had been convicted.
Even more so than that, Howard Lutnick had come out publicly and said he wasn't friends with Epstein, that he had never been to the island, and then documents are released. It turns out he's a big fat liar.
So he is saying that he's actually going to voluntarily go and answer questions. And then you've got Representative Comer from Kentucky, who is praising Lutnick for voluntarily agreeing to testify.
Praising him? That's like the old Chris Rock bit. You're not going to get a cookie for doing something you're supposed to do. You're the Secretary of Commerce of the United States, and you've been, potentially involved in some of the most gross things that we've seen in our lifetimes. Yeah, I'm not going to give Howard Lutnick any credit because he voluntarily goes to talk to Congress about this. That is the bare minimum I expect out of our any of the cabinet secretaries.
So one thing that happened when Bill Clinton was testifying is he told the whole world while he was under oath that J.B. Pritzker of Illinois and his wife flew with him on Epstein's plane. And J.B. Pritzker, he's saying, no, that's not true.
I had never met Jeffrey Epstein. I was never on Jeffrey Epstein's plane. I was never on any plane with Jeffrey Epstein or with Ghislaine Maxwell. Never met her. But you know who did? You know who palled around with both of them? Donald Trump.
Come on.
Yeah, deflect, right? So do you think that if any he had, presidential aspirations are cooked?
Well, J.D. Pritzker's got a lot of problems. This is just one on a big heap of problems that he has with any future potential political aspirations. But who's telling the truth here? And by the way, it's Democrat versus Democrat. Bill Clinton and J.B. Pritzker, one of them's a liar here, and we don't know which one in this. Now, I will say that J.B. Pritzker's cousin showed up in the Epstein files, if you remember that, and there was some discussion of this. So is this a situation where Bill Clinton doesn't remember which Pritzker he was next to?
That's possible.
I mean, I could see that being the case, but outside of that, Bill Clinton is claiming J.D. Pritzker was on an Epstein plane with him, and J.D. Pritzker just flat out said he wasn't.
Okay, we've got an update for you. You might recall that story, that Florida speedboat that was entering Cuban territorial waters, and it was confronted by Cuban border guards. Cuban authorities said the group opened fire on patrol. 4 people on that boat were killed. 6 were wounded and detained. Cuba says it will now file terrorism charges against the 6 survivors who remain in custody and is accusing them of plotting acts of terror. The U.S. government says no U.S. government personnel were involved in the boat's activities, and they're investigating this incident independently.
Yeah, what I would like to hear more about, because again, up until now, most of the information that we've gotten about this situation has come from the Cuban government. I'm sorry, I'm not going to take what the Cuban government. Well, I'm just not going to take it as fact. Maybe accurate, but I'm not going to just use them as the only source. I'd like to hear a little bit more from our government about this and what they've found out about the situation. But the reports were that this was organized and this wasn't just a bunch of guys out fishing, or at least according to a lot of reports. These weren't just a bunch of guys out fishing that got lost and ended up on the doorstep of Cuba. These guys apparently were armed. They had intentions. They went there specifically to cause trouble, and trouble found them pretty quick.
Yeah, private armed missions, they're not the way to handle it. That not only risks lives, clearly, like what happened, also some diplomatic fallout. We have to touch on this next story, and that is what happened with the Brownsburg Community School Corporation. They agreed to pay $650,000 to John Klug, who is a former music teacher, and this is to settle a federal lawsuit. He resigned back in 2018 after refusing to use transgender students' preferred names and pronouns, saying that it conflicted with his religious beliefs. This went through years of litigations. In 23, the Supreme Court change in religious accommodation law revived parts of his claim. And now there is this settlement. The school district is going to have to provide training to senior staff on federal religious discrimination protections, and they're also paying him $650,000.
Yeah, it seems like whenever we hear something about the Brownsburg School Corporation, unfortunately, it involves them with a lawsuit or something bad going on. Of course, we had the terrible story a couple of years ago with the kid, the special needs kid that allegedly was forced to eat his own vomit, and the teachers involved with that, and I believe that's still an ongoing investigation. This, again, many years old, but you kind of feel a little bit vindicated here, don't you? I mean, it kind of feels like, we all won. You've got this teacher at this school that refuses to use, a pronoun that's outside of the given sex of the individual associated with it. For some reason, Brownsburg School Corporation decided to fire him over that. And now he's reached a settlement. Keep in mind, this was a settlement. This didn't go to a full jury trial or anything like that.
Well, what it is you have this teacher who refused to perpetuate the lie. He said, I'm not doing it. They said, fine, you're out. And now he won. However, it's the taxpayers who are going to end up paying for this.
Right. I agree. The taxpayers are going to end up paying for it, but this looks awful for the leadership at the Brownsburg School Corporation, that's for sure, and how they're running things. And I get this feeling in this sense, whether it's at the grade school or high school or collegiate level, that all of our academic institutions have just gone completely off the rails with the liberal ideology that they're forcing down upon their employees, clearly in this case here. And I would love to see more of those individuals like this gentleman from Brownsburg that was harmed during this process to fight back and file lawsuits, because I think that's the only way to cause these academic institutions some pain and to get them to actually change their crazy policies.
And finally, you've got this rising percentage of U.S. teens who aren't getting enough sleep. About 77% of U.S. high school students not getting enough sleep. Teens should ideally have between 8 and 10 hours a night, and not nearly enough are getting it. And we keep blaming the teens when the real issue is we expect adult level performance from bodies and brains that are still developing. You know, they've got all of these endless homework, the sports, the jobs, the phone, the early school start times, and then we're shocked when they're running on fumes.
Well, and again, this is again one of the least surprising headlines I've seen in a long time. I mean, I can remember when I was
Falling asleep in class?
Right, I can remember when I was in school, I wouldn't call that period of time well rested. Certainly no. I think that teens, especially high schoolers, have always run into this issue. I mean, it's been on a part of our culture forever. Come on, you got to get to school, with the parents shaking the kid or throwing a glass of water on him just to get him out of bed in the morning.
It's always, hey, we haven't heard about how teens aren't getting enough sleep. Let's do a study on that. Yep, turned out exactly how we thought it would.
So my mom was always the gentle one, trying to wake me up.
Yeah.
You got to wake up, Jim.
Uh-huh.
But when Dad came
did
in, my dad had a big, deep, loud voice, and it was turned on a dime like that. I'm up, Dad. I'm up. I'm moving. I'm moving.
You're listening to Casey and Jim. It is 93 WYBC.
It's time. You've been putting off that kitchen or bath remodel long enough. What are you waiting for? Get started today with Boer Remodeling. Boer Remodeling customer Kathy had a bath remodel with Boer. Kathy, talk a little bit about your experience.
Our experience with Boer has been terrific. The process was so easy and seamless. When we decided to do a larger remodel of our first floor, Boer was the first company we thought of hiring.
And were you happy with the results?
The results are amazing, and we are so happy with our home and the work that Boer did.
Peter is another recent Boer Remodeling customer with a new kitchen. Peter, what was the best part about working with Boer?
We especially liked the active participation that we were able to have in selection of stone for the countertops. Really came out beautiful. The cabinets also came out very, very well.
The best materials, the most skilled craftsmen in Central Indiana. They'll guide you through the entire process. Start with a free consultation. Talk to Boer Remodeling today. That's BOOHER, BoerRemodeling.com.
My husband's an animal in bed.
Well, you know.
Not in the fun way. Think warthog. With a chainsaw.
Snoring and sleep apnea affect over 90 million people, and 1 out of 4 couples sleep in separate rooms. Advent can help. We've been your one-stop solution for nasal congestion, snoring, and sleep apnea for over 20 years. Unlike many other practices, we focus exclusively on these conditions, so you get comprehensive care under one roof. Advent's unique approach can help you breathe and sleep better, and many avoid a CPAP. Plus, most insurance is accepted for our effective 20-minute in-office treatments.
Hey, the only animal you want in your bed is your dog.
Advent. Sleep better. Sleep together. Learn how you can improve your life at adventknows.com.
Garage door problems? Call today for service today. Garage Doors of Indianapolis services all makes of garage doors 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Call today for service today. 875-4577. Call today for service today. Get it fixed right now. Call Garage Doors of Indianapolis at 875-4577 or visit doorstoday.com.
In the morning, call 875-4577. Service today? Today.
Spring is fast approaching and a great time for a new Lincoln at Tom Roush Lincoln in Fishers. 0% financing is back. That's right, 0% for 48 months on new Corsair, Nautilus, and Aviator. Plus 0% for 36 months on new Navigator. With these rates, it's absolutely the best time to buy. Be sure to check them all out at Tom Roush Lincoln in Fishers. Our family serving yours since 1972.
0% APR for 48 months on 2026 Lincoln Corsair, Nautilus, and Aviator. 0% APR for 36 months on 2025 Lincoln Navigator. Subject to credit approval. Offers end 3/31/26. See dealer for complete offer details.
I know that hiring can be challenging. You need someone to match your role perfectly. Well, now you can meet them fast on ZipRecruiter.
Build your team. Build it sooner. Meet your match on ZipRecruiter.
Just head to ZipRecruiter.com/free right now to try it for free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Meet your match on ZipRecruiter. Try it free.
It's tax season, and at LifeLock, we know you're tired of numbers. But here's a big one you need to hear. Billions. That's the amount of money in refunds the IRS has flagged for possible identity fraud. Now here's another big number, 100 million. That's how many data points LifeLock monitors every second. If your identity is stolen, we'll fix it guaranteed. One last big number. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code NEWS. Visit LifeLock.com for the threats you can't control. Terms apply.
Upgrade your flooring with Drexel Interiors. Shop pet-friendly carpet and luxury vinyl plank on sale now. Plus, get 12 months interest-free financing. Visit their Indianapolis or Carmel showrooms or DrexelIN.com.
See Santana live with the Doobie Brothers on Sunday, June 21st at Ruoff Music Center. A night of legendary music you won't want to miss. Get your tickets now at WIBC.com.
Got a black magic woman.
That's right. Every little thing he does, it's not enough for us. The law shouldn't bend for you just because you're famous. If you get behind the wheel after drinking, especially as a public figure, there is no reason to hide the consequences. We already know. We know you did it. The body cam footage is going to come out. Why are you trying to stop it? Justin Timberlake has filed a lawsuit in New York to stop the public release of police body cam footage of his 2024 drunk driving arrest that happened in Sag Harbor, New York, in the Hamptons. You remember when that happened, right?
Oh, yeah, this is a big story.
Video in question, it's about 8 hours long. It includes the traffic stop, the field sobriety test, the arrest, and his time in custody. And now he's trying to stop it. His lawyers say that the footage would violate his privacy and cause, quote, severe and irreparable harm to his personal and professional reputation. Dude, we already know you did it.
Okay, so my first thought on this is, wow, that body cam footage must
be bad.
Must be really bad if he's going to court to fight this. And what a bunch this is just another reason why people hate celebrities, because they get the special treatment. And look, I get that in a private setting that's, not any government related issue that, celebrities are going to get special treatment, fine. But this is a court of law. This is he was pulled over for DUI. He ended up pleading guilty to it. And now he wants the body cam footage left out. Now, in the state of New York, it is presumptively public, which basically means the default position is this should be released to the public. He's arguing that it, makes him look bad. He's going to have a real hard time getting this blocked from the way I've looked into this. Is a chance he might get a part of it blocked, but getting it all of it blocked is highly, highly unlikely.
Which is worse, the fact that he did it or that he's trying to block the release of it?
I think it looks terrible that he's trying to block the release of it, and he may end up having both happen, where he's fighting it in court and it ends up getting released anyway.
Yeah. It's not a good look anyway. The actual act and the trying to block it. Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you for listening. This is 93 WIBC.
Are you within 5 years of filing for Social Security? When you file impacts more than your benefits check. It could also impact your taxes, IRA, and 401k withdrawals, spousal benefits, and your Medicare premiums. Learn the best time for you to file for your benefits with a free customized Social Security analysis from Bill Demery, your retirement guy in Indy. This analysis pinpoints exactly how you could get the most out of your benefits while considering the impact on your taxes, IRA, and 401k withdrawals, spousal benefits, and more. Go to yourretirementguy.com to schedule that analysis.